You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
This is not like I'm sitting here like defeated. I'm just sitting here frustrated. You know? You're frustrated, I'm frustrated.
Nebraska has never had a bigger game than this.
We're playing three really good teams, three teams that are in the same sort of area that we're in, right?
This is round one for a trip to a bowl game.
But I felt like we needed some help, and so I just thought this was the right thing to do.
Who's up first?
USC, how do you do?
Nebraska versus USC.
Looking for Nayor, makes a catch inside the 15 to the 10 to the 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Motion toward the line of scrimmage. Fake the handoff, roll the pocket to the near side. Looking downfield as a man open downfield and shoots it too high. And it's picked off. Intercepted Malcolm Hartzog. 10 up to the 14-yard line as Malcolm Hartzog now to the 19 as he goes and starts the mashed potatoes dance. Huskers get a pick. Viola waits, claps, gets the snap. Back to throw. Here comes a corner. Bledsoe's little pass is nearly picked off.
No caught.
And then caught by Ravi and into the end zone for a touchdown.
The Huskers versus the Trojans.
Pass intercepted. Picked off. Bullock to the 25, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. John Bullock with a pick six. Oh, baby, fire up the DB boom box and get that turnover. Dan's go. Give it off to Dante off the right side. Rolls his shoulder, bangs his way in. Touchdown, Nebraska. Viola turns, takes the handoff, looks at the little fade route to the back corner of the end zone. Passes up, and it's caught. It is a touchdown, Nebraska. Isaiah Nair pulls one in, and the Huskers have 6 points.
Huskers, Trojans, let's get it on.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. DB will be joining me here shortly. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and it is a football Friday here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. So much stuff going on. It feels like Nebraska hasn't played in forever. We mentioned earlier this week, this bye week has almost felt like an off season, including coaching changes as well. And it is going to be a super interesting weekend, starting off tonight with the Class A semifinals. You've got high school football in all the classes, but Class A semifinals, West Side and Millard South appear to be on a collision course for that state title game, but of course they've got to get through tonight with Omaha North and Kearney respectively. We will get to that later in the show, as we'll of course talk to our guy Mike Sautter, as we always do on Friday. Also coming up on the show this morning, we're going to talk to our guy Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Really good day to have Tim on, as there is a ton of recruiting news, gossip, little tidbits, and it apparently is flipping season. If you didn't hear yesterday, Dawson Merritt, the one-time Alabama commit, has officially flipped to Nebraska. This felt like something that was sort of inevitable at some point, but you know, it just kind of kept dragging out, and you weren't totally sure if it was going to happen. It sort of seemed like he might commit to Nebraska originally, but I think the pull of Alabama was a bit too much. Finally decides to flip to Nebraska. The son of the Chiefs defensive backs coach he's from Kansas City. He now, at least according to all the recruiting services I've looked at, instantly becomes Nebraska's highest rated recruit, bumps their recruiting class up several spots. And from the sounds of things, if you follow Tim on Inside Nebraska and on his Twitter account, sounds like there may be a little bit more on the horizon in terms of potential flips for Nebraska as well. So make sure you get tuned in for Tim at 8 o'clock. That should be a really interesting conversation. And as you already know, Tim is a terrific knower of ball. So we'll talk about the matchup with USC as well. At 8:45, we'll talk to Jessica Coody of the Huskers Radio Network. As I mentioned, Mike Sautter at 9. And then, as always, we will wrap up the show with our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker owner of Paisan's Pizzeria at 9:45 to send us off into the weekend. And we're going to do something a little different today as well for our digital-only audience. So if you're watching on the stream or if you hear us on the podcast, we're going to have a little bonus content for you at 10 o'clock after the show with our friend Alexis Boulos from Union Omaha. They play for a championship Sunday. I keep losing track of what day it is. They play for a championship on Sunday, USL League One Championship, November 17th, 2 p.m. at Werner Park. So make sure you stick around to listen to that. I'm a big Omaha guy, as you guys know. I'm a big fan of teams and organizations in the area representing Omaha and Nebraska well, and that's one of the reasons we love our friends over at Union Omaha and the Omaha Storm Chasers. They represent our community well year in and year out, so make sure you support them as well. So we'll talk to Alexis at 10, so just after the show on the air, to get a final scoop on that championship matchup coming up on Sunday. So that is the show for today. Before we get into anything else, Shane, how you doing this morning, bud?
Good morning again.
It is a good morning. We doing all right?
Yeah, doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a little chilly for me this morning. You know, I'm wearing the flannel. It's was a little chilly outside, but it's that time of year, you know. It's better than the alternative of my wife gets very upset when it's like 80 degrees and it's supposed to be like fall weather. She's a very big fall weather lady, so you know, it's getting a little chilly, but we're doing all right.
It's physical. It's hard. It's cold.
It is cold, Coach. I will take this over the rain we had a couple days ago. My dogs specifically Doug, does not want to go outside when it's raining like that, and
it's a unbelievable surprise.
That makes my life difficult, if I'm being honest with you. Kind of have to drag him outside, got to stay out there with him. Then I'm out there in the rain. I mean, I get it. I get why he doesn't want to go out. I don't want to be out there, but.
So do you ever use like Douglas or Dougie or?
Oh, 100%. As I think most dog owners know, you use about 1 million nicknames for your dog. So you got Doug, we got Dougie. His full name is Douglas Fur Lulla because he was a Christmas present.
So I assume when he does something cute, it's Dougie.
Yeah, we do Dougie. He's a big snuggler, so we call him Dougie Snuggie a lot.
But when he does something bad, it's probably like, come on, Douglas.
Douglas Fur, get inside. Yes, that's kind of how it works, you know. Got a lot of nicknames for the dogs, but they were doing all right this morning, so we appreciate at least it's a dry morning for the doggos. Weather not something you're going to have to worry about tomorrow out in Southern California. It is Nebraska's first road trip out to Southern California since 2006. And when they went out to USC and lost in kind of an infamous 28-10 game under Bill Callahan, where, you know, a lot of Nebraska fans were incredibly upset about how that game played out. And, you know, I saw Brian Christopherson tweet about this, our friend over from Husker 24/7. And, you know, looking back at it, the game plan that gave everyone so much consternation against USC back then, I don't think so many of us would have a problem with it today. As we welcome in our friend DB here. What's up, bud?
You sound sleepy, man. You good?
I'm good.
Wake your ass up. It's game day.
I'm awake.
All right, how about that?
I think it's just the voice. The voice is a little raggedy this morning. I don't know why.
It was hard. I think no. I don't think people would be cool with that today.
You don't think so?
No, I think they want to win.
So
I don't. No.
What was?
No.
Because in hindsight,
you see what the line is down to?
Yes.
7.
Yes.
I guess 7.5. It's 7.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down some more.
You think so?
Yep.
Think we get like a 6.5?
I don't know, maybe. But what that tells me is I don't know.
There's some movement on. There's got to be some movement on Nebraska.
Well, we're just all doomy gloomy, right? We've been like that all week because we've been sidetracked with like the extras.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, this is unprecedented, but don't look at it.
And it's an important extra, to be fair.
And it is. It's huge. But so here's the deal. Like, this is what I struggle with. And people aren't wrong. So hear my heart, because sometimes when I give a different vantage point, you know, people feel offended, and I'm like, well, if it's bothering you, then I'm probably talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
But try your hardest not to look at this from a media standpoint.
Okay.
Now you're like, well, shoot, man, I talk every day. I'm in the media. Like, what else do you want me to do? Try to look at it through their eyes. It doesn't always have to be negative. It's like, well, this is unprecedented, and when is this going to ever work? And you know, as a CEO or a coach or anybody that's like trying to get through, like a teacher,
mm-hmm.
right? You don't rest in what always has been. You can kind of feel it. You can know it. You can say, man, it's always been like this. And how is this going to change? And, you know, usually the best form of future behavior or a future performance is past behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, nobody that is a day-to-day competitor, like,
mm-hmm.
and not like that has to try to get better every day, thinks like that. So I wouldn't even look at it like, man, it's been a long time since Chuck Fairbanks switched to the wishbone for Switzer at Oklahoma,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I mean, that's really the only
thing even close.
Yeah, and it was the same person, just different
different strategy concepts,
just a different offense. So and that turned out pretty well. Now, will it take time? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you can pay immediate dividends, because the secret that nobody likes to really talk about and admit, and it can be frustrating at the same time,
mm-hmm.
right? Nebraska isn't that far away, right? This is like little ticky-tack stuff. Now, has it been over an extended period of time? Sure. Does it
mm-hmm.
extend past rules? Sure. But it's not like they're light whatevers away from getting over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk about this many one-score games and be super far away.
Yeah.
But we talk about it like we're going to watch Clemson and Alabama, and we're going to see a completely different game. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you don't – we say it, and it's all – those guys, oh, man, did you see how good such and such was? Guess who doesn't think like that? The guys that are out there coaching. Yeah. And you don't want them to.
Right.
So – when you like that separation when you're critiquing it, I'm asking to have that separation when you're going to try to evaluate it. It can work.
Mm-hmm.
When you've competed your whole life, you think anything you do is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Yeah.
You think anything when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, you had to figure out anything can happen in sports.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comparing Douglas beating Tyson to Nebraska winning in Southern Cal. I'm not.
Right.
But I am saying that's why you compete.
Right.
Right? Like, we think real linearly because of, well, it should be like this, and this historically, well, you have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how coaches think. This has been one of the best weeks in terms of emotions that I think Nebraska has had, it's my opinion,
mm-hmm.
since probably Ohio State. And I would rank those two. I would go Colorado week, Ohio State week, this week. Why? Because they're free. They know. It's cool to say, well, why do they care what we think? Well, then why do you care to say it?
Yeah.
Right? You want somebody to know what your opinion is.
Not like these people exist in a vacuum.
They don't.
Right?
They don't.
Like, they're people. They hear things.
They don't. So it's like
the internet's everywhere.
I think the fun, fast, free mentality that, like, they're going to go to Southern California and they're going to let it rip.
Mm-hmm.
They 100% are going to let it rip. I know clearly what I'm saying. I know it's 7:10 on a Friday. It's before the game, and you can come back and be like, man, DB, you told me. They're going to Southern California to let it rip.
So one of the things that I was trying to think about both last night and this morning, and you touched on it there, was I genuinely believe, and this is, I know we talked about the Saterfield thing a lot yesterday, but I genuinely feel like you're right. They're not, even in the areas where we feel like they've really struggled, I don't feel like they're that far away.
We know they're not.
I mean, you look at the film, you see guys getting open, you see concepts working, and just them not quite being able to execute it, and you go, hey, that's really not that far away. And so I've been trying to come up with an analogy of like, hey, in the rest of life, right? We're like, hey, give it a little bit of a tweak, you get about 10% better, and all of a sudden things look way differently, right?
Yeah.
The best thing I could come up with, and I'm not a car guy, so Shane, you can rebuke me if I'm wrong here, but I don't know if you've ever had like a spark plug go out on a car.
I don't even know what that is.
I
mean, I know.
I don't really know what
what
they
it
do.
does.
I don't really know what they do, but I've had one go out before, right?
Sure.
And it makes your car run super raggedy. It just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It'll run, but not great. You replace that thing, all of a sudden, boom, pretty small fix. It's like a $3 part or something. If you know where it is, you can do it yourself. It's not hard. I don't know anything about cars, and I've done one. And all of a sudden, your car runs like normal again. That's kind of what I think we're talking about here. This isn't a thing where Nebraska necessarily has to make wholesale changes or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of things, like everything else on the car seems to be working, right? We're just kind of skipping a cylinder when you're trying to accelerate a little bit.
I know it. So the rebuttal to that would be, well, one day it's the brakes.
Sure.
The next day it's the calipers.
Sure. But is the engine okay?
Is
the transmission okay?
The next day after that, it's the rotors.
Sure.
And people are like, well, why don't we just replace the whole brake system?
Or the whole car, or what, right?
I got a great message on DMs from Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
He's out, and he said he enjoys listening to us out in western Nebraska. And he said, at what point do you fast forward to results? He said, that's the trick, right? So if you want to stay with your car analogy, if you're driving and your car has a few hiccups, you have to decide what you want to fix versus when you want to scrap it and go new.
And when do you make that decision, right?
Yeah. I think for us, typically, it's when we've exhausted all options, or when the expenditures exceed our time
or
and value.
When the car stopped consistently getting you where you need to go.
Right. So,
right, like that's the result.
So this is one I look at this stretch because people always want to extrapolate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does this mean for the future? You don't worry about the future right now. The future isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm. Problems today.
I don't know why people say that. Well, what does this mean long term? Guess what? The long-term culture is in.
Mm-hmm.
You will keep getting better players, which we currently just got.
I just saw one yesterday.
That's not the problem. The problem is it's like double talk.
Mm-hmm.
If we fix it last week, it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
And then we fix it, and now it's, well, what about next year and the longevity? It's like, man, go sit down somewhere. Like,
you're gonna tell them touch some grass.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's you can't have,
and it's like
both things at the same time.
And my favorite is well, they just got to ignore it. You got to hunker down and ignore it. Go play ball. How about you just?
I'll say, why can't we ignore it then?
Well, it's just not human nature.
I get that, but it's also not human nature for the 18 to 22-year-olds to ignore it either.
It's just not.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, I've tried to talk to these guys like all week. Like, you kind of get a feel, right? And what I don't want to do, this is just personal. See, this is just me. This is not what I'm trying to cast on everybody. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want any us versus thems. I'm a big we guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we greater than me. You see all the little T-shirts the team's wearing and stuff. We greater. Big we guy. So it'd be pretty cool if you don't have to agree with all 100%, but can we like 75% be all in together? Because that would be really, really powerful.
Because we all want the same thing.
Yeah, you can have your 20%, 25%.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really agree.
Because that's healthy.
Here. Yeah,
that's healthy.
You need some constructive disagreement.
Yeah, I'm not a socialist. Right? Like,
not this morning.
Never. That's why my politics are very complicated. I'm not even gonna get started. Wait, you like that guy? You like? Listen, man. No, never mind. You'll be like, get him out of here.
We got socialist DB up in here.
Yeah, not. Remember, I'm the same guy that will tell you, hey, listen, if you don't want to do this, it's okay. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Get up on out you.
There's other stuff you can do.
Yeah, man. Survival of the fittest, right? But I do want you to come along. I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and like he's like, look, man, this is a process. And we were talking about something different. But whether it's a coach or a team or a CEO or me and you or your relationship or fatherhood or whatever, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just go. Like no hindrance,
Yeah.
no burdens, no nothing. Skedaddle up on a. You can go fast if you go alone. But if you want to go far,
Go together.
Go together.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to go together. They're trying to go. This is for the long haul, but in the short term, this was best. And the best example of that is the guy that everybody 10 weeks later from being absolved of play calling duties, people still talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach Saterfield, the only thing that we should be talking about with Coach Saterfield in this discussion is, man, that's a good dude for going to work every day.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people wouldn't.
That's a good dude for going to work every day. And you know who else vibes with that?
Coach Roll.
The players.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same
So
thing.
if I'm a player, and I've been in my fields, and believe me, they got a couple of babies out there.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get up on out of there too, right? But see, they're in the colander, right?
Just trying to shake it out. See what's left.
You're out of excuses.
Yeah. Because if your former OC
you're out of excuses.
is willing to humble himself in that role,
you got no.
Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's why I brought up.
It's the ultimate sacrifice.
That's why I brought up earlier in the week that if they see Coach Rule's willing to do something and then they're not, they've got no more excuses, right? He's never asked them to do something they wouldn't do. He's made sacrifices. He's let go of people he really cared about. He's demoted people he's really cared about.
You know why you can't seek counsel from the less wise
or
people that haven't gone through what you've gone through? Because they'll say things like, oh, man, it's a panic move. What's a panic move? Like, you don't even know how to ask for help. How would you critique this? No, I'm dead serious.
I know. I can't tell you how many times this week I heard, oh, it's a desperation move.
I'm like,
and it's the same people, like you said, talking it out of both sides of their mouth. It's the same people that if he hadn't done anything would be like, oh, it's a buddy hire. He's never going to do anything.
It's incredible, right? So you have to hope that the guys and gals down there that you're rallying for, this sounds crazy, but just think about this for a second. You have to hope that they're the opposite of whatever it is that you want them to be.
What do you mean?
If you can't win for losing, and it's always something different that they want to change, man, should have made this move a long time ago. Hey, man, stay the course, coach. Oh, man, it took you too long. But wait, I made the change mid-season.
Yeah.
Just
Nobody does that.
Just be the opposite, because all we're going to do is we're going to critique
be reactionary
along the way.
Yeah.
Right? You're just going to critique it along the way. And this is totally me talking that is trying to go with what I know to be successful, whether I'm playing, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm on the sidelines cheering for strong organizations. Like, this is what you have to be able to do. I don't want the us versus them, but I do get the individuality of opinions. It's that you have to continually fall in love with what you're doing, where you are, and who you're doing it with to overcome what's going on. That's the key, and they'll be ready when they go to LA.
Remember, all of us want the same thing. We just disagree to certain degrees on how we want to get there. 80% agreement, 20% we can have a nice discussion about it. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We'll be back more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I think Dana's stepped right in. Like I said, it's still the same language. He's, adapting to everything that we do. The players, it's, like I said, it's the same thing. It's just, someone new in the mix. All the same coaches are coaching their guys. So it's just, like I said, a fresh perspective on what we were doing. And I think he's gotten along well with the players. And I think the players have practiced well this week.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. I gotta address something in the YouTube comments here, because
Why?
Well, because some people say things that aren't that smart sometimes, and
I just literally logged in.
So Bobby says we're talking about Saterfield and how he humbled himself to take the tight end position rather than just walking away. He goes, he gets $1.4 million to show up. He's not a saint. Let him quit so we save the money. Hey, Bobby, I don't know if you know this, bud. No, I don't know if you know this, bud. People that have big jobs, their employment status doesn't work the way ours does. Okay? That $1.4 million goes to him whether he works or not. Like, that's why, Coach Rule literally said this. He literally said this word for word. He goes, he could have said, fire me and take his money and go home. You know why he said to take his money part? Because that money is his as soon as he puts pen to paper, assuming he doesn't commit some kind of crime that voids the contract, right? That $1.4 million is his regardless of if he shows up to work or not. This is not like somebody's job at Jiffy Lube or something where you stop showing up to work, they don't pay you anymore. That's not how it works.
Hey, can I get my 2 weeks?
Yeah, and let's be honest, even in some of those jobs where you don't have a contract and a buyout and some things like that, I'll tell you, in my wife's industry, in culinary, people all the time let their pride get in the way of a paycheck, right? She tells me about people just walking out all the time because
ask Verghese.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
they get in their feels about something. They can't check their ego, and they walk away from their only source of income without a plan, without a buyout, without anything. So don't act like this doesn't happen to people that don't have these contracts. He certainly could have walked away and taken his money and gone home.
I don't understand and it's
not your money, Bobby.
I don't want to lend credence. I didn't see that at first. I'm going to move on from that. But can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why are we so concerned about
other people's money?
Yeah.
Maybe Bobby's a big booster, and I don't know. Maybe he's a big booster.
I think it was just how I was number one, it was how I was raised. But number two, being in locker rooms, that's the last thing we're supposed to be worried about.
Yeah. You got other stuff going on.
Get your hand out of my pocket.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
You hear it all the time in the NFL where people are just when people are holding out, and they're like, hey, he's got to do what's good for him. He'll be back when he's back, and we'll go play with him then.
Yeah, I don't know. Your athletic director talked about the South Stadium renovation project. Apparently he's back on. Well,
we just had to get the Trev stink off it for a little while.
Knock it off.
You can run the exact same plan out there and call it the Dan and Rule Stadium renovation plan and not change a word.
Knock it off.
And it'd be fine.
Who used to say
it's not something we really understand.
It's not, Ravi. Knock it off, all right?
What'd I do?
So apparently the stadium renovation project is back on.
Yeah.
Right?
Renovate that thing.
You feel like you have a decent idea what the set aside money is going to be for quote unquote payroll for student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're printing money, but if they're not worried about it, why are we that's not our business.
Mm-hmm. If somebody goes,
but we're always minding it. It's just anyway. I say all that to say Asian Wyatt has a question.
Okay.
On the heels of yesterday's show.
Yeah.
Since it's USC week.
Yeah, it is USC week.
Shane, he would like to know what your favorite memory is of John David Booty. I hated John David Booty.
That's fine.
I didn't understand it.
That's a terrific question.
That's when you know what the answer to that question is. Which, by the way, when Mills Lane passed away.
Can I say that?
He was what? Will you say that again?
Well, he said.
What did you say? I didn't. What did you say?
And what pronoun did you use?
I said he was bootylicious, wasn't he?
Who? And why?
John David Booty.
That's probably the first time in history anybody has referred to John David Booty as bootylicious.
Wyatt asked. I gave him my response.
Wyatt what?
He asked.
Is there a K in there?
Wyatt. He asked.
You all right over there, DB? It's kind of like when one of your friends goes out.
He's not my friend.
No, I'm not talking about him. Obviously.
Shane,
it's kind of like when one of your friends goes out.
You're out.
And
it is not optional.
What is...
It's like when one of your friends goes out and buys a new car, buys a new house or something, and they're not worried about the payment.
Are we going to act like he just didn't...
I'm just moving on. If they're not worried about their mortgage, why should you be? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You good? You feel all right?
Yeah.
You doing
I want you to be proud.
Hey.
You doing okay?
I'm fine. It's fine.
Stadium renovations?
Yeah. Anyway.
The Dannon project?
So, I mean, he's clearly aggressive.
Yeah.
Finding new revenue streams. Your coach is cool.
And also, I don't know why we think Nebraska's in poverty.
I am so now, okay. So I need a line of delineation.
Sure.
Here. I'm not saying being fiscally savvy is not important.
Agreed.
I'm not saying just because you have money. But I feel like I have to have that disclaimer because people are so
sure.
If then.
But Nebraska's in one of the better financial positions.
What I'm saying is we're worrying about It's exactly so. Just let me just show you how I'm consistent here. It's exactly how I feel about guys that are getting paid NIL that aren't playing worth a lickety split. Hey, that money's already on the books. Do something different.
Yeah, that money's spent. That doesn't mean you have to play them.
I'm not like, but I need a return on what I've already spent. Now, sometimes you just got to chalk it up as an L.
Yeah, it's like, right? Oh, I can't believe that I have to pay my tight ends coach $1.4 million when I paid him that to be. Well, is he?
And right now,
do you think he can be effective as a tight ends coach? Sure.
And right now, that's not. I think him being there and how he is with the players and kind of what he's given in crisis mode. The players.
That's important.
It's important.
Yeah. Having him in the building.
I'm not sure you put a price tag on that.
Clearly, to Coach Rule, having Marcus Saterfield in the building is important.
I would concur.
So whatever that means for the rest of us, whatever that means for his price tag, whatever that means for his on-field role, clearly Coach Rule, because it would have been really easy to be like, hey, Marcus, we're going to move on.
Hey, have you ever, and we'll talk about this at 8, but you do realize like something appears to be going right.
Yeah. Because a lot of players, good players,
are
interested in Nebraska, not just this year.
Yeah.
Not just guys that are maybe late bloomers, guys that are committed to other places.
That's why I'm telling you, don't worry about Halgerson. I'm just going to say what Coach Rule says. Dana.
I think it's Holgerson.
DH.
I think it's Holgerson.
I think I'm not asking you right now. Okay, that's what I think.
You call him Hoagie?
I don't even know if I'm going to make it to 8 o'clock.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
I'm dead serious. I'm already like, I got Vikings coming out of my earlobes.
That's true. You're a little tuned up today.
The closer we get to games.
As is game day?
The closer Nebraska gets to playing or, West Side or whatever.
Both.
I'm always on. You know what I mean? Just depends on whether you need a penny, a nickel, or a quarter to turn me up.
Today I just shook the machine and it just started getting candy out of there.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I did not put any money in today.
Yeah. You start elbowing the vending machine on the sneak.
Bags of chips start falling down.
No, man. So, I don't know. I'm just always going to try to boil this thing down to competing. And I truly, it sounds corny, man, but it's not. Like I just think love always wins. Love where your feet are. Love who you're doing it with. Love going to work every day. Love the environment you're in. Like, it's a goal, right? It's a goal. It's what we all want to do. We want to be happy, right? So I think that culture, if that's what you're trying to build from within, is sustainable in crunch time. You just have to let it set. Like SET, like you have to let it.
Gotta let the foundation set before you start building the rest of the house.
You gotta let the Jello gel. You know what I mean? Like now we're gonna see how jiggly it is on about 3 o'clock tomorrow, West Coast or Pacific time. We'll see how jiggly that thing is. But man, it's not an indictment, man. You're trying to play the long game for the rest of this season, if that makes sense. It's essentially become a 3-week season.
100%. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
It's really been for me just being very flexible in terms of like, hey, coach, what do you need? You know, do you need an extra meeting here? Do you need practice this way? Do you need practice there? It's what I've always liked to do. I've never been very rigid with those things. You know, I was liking it to, if you're a golfer and you're struggling off the tee, you don't want to go take a chipping lesson. You want to work on your driver. And so, to me, it's always being flexible in the process of what we need, and adapting to Dana and kind of what he needs to get ready. But also then, he's obviously adapted to the situation that he's in. But, a lot of credit to him. I mean, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to step in at this point. But I think he sees the challenge in it. He also sees the opportunity. And same thing for us. Obviously, it's a little bit of a challenge, but I see a tremendous opportunity here. And I have to be flexible. He has to be flexible. And it's been fun, to be quite honest with you. It's been a great week, really 2 weeks just to make this thing work. So, we'll go out there on Saturday, we'll play. What I'm very sure of is that we'll get better every single day. I think it's a really good setup right now.
Yeah. Wrapping up hour number one, Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What?
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Because that's really all people want to hear it, man. They want to win. But you do have to get better every day, and that's the start. Like, I truly believe that. I just talk to the guys. Mm-hmm. They feel better yesterday than they did last Monday. That matters a lot. So I guarantee you. I mean, wouldn't you like to be better yesterday or tomorrow than you were today?
I mean,
that's the goal.
100%. And that's when I think about these other programs that I know people get super frustrated, right? Because you see Kurt Signetti winning right away, and you see these guys have
Boy,
these
he came up a lot yesterday.
you have these like 1-year bumps and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
whatever. You see guys winning early, and I get it's frustrating, right? Because you're like, why can't we do that? Why can't Nebraska ever seem to do that? And I get it. I get the frustration.
You know what Coach Rule would say to his players if they asked him why couldn't he be Kurt Signetti?
I mean, he's told us, but
50% of that room would be gone.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Like we know.
You laugh.
No, it's true. We know
but
how much
it is 100% true.
he doesn't.
They wouldn't be here.
He doesn't do the documentary crew like Deion does.
There'd be no East-West Shrine game for Ty Robinson and no hula, for Bullock and Senior Bowl for Tommy. Those things wouldn't exist.
We always focus on Deion, but Signetti.
That's the reality of it. You want a hot take? There it is.
Signetti flipped that roster just like anybody else did, right? I mean, there's not a lot of Indiana guys left on that roster.
No, man.
And
he just didn't announce that he was bringing his own luggage, but he did.
Right, 100%. That's like the only difference is Deion's louder about it. Signetti's louder about certain other things. But
hey, you gotta give the ear lean.
What are we? We bringing our own luggage? Apparently, I don't know if Kurt Signetti's a Louis guy. That he doesn't really seem like his vibe.
Nah, he's straight Samson.
Oh yeah, he's definitely like some old school. It's probably like passed down through generations. That stuff's like 60 years old. But
he said, "Nah, I want to arrive as late as possible. Have a meeting, do our walkthrough, kick their tail, get out of town."
Wow.
Went to bed, woke up, played 3:30, kicked their ass.
It's a hell of a game plan, Coach.
All right, then, Kurt.
But yeah, there is a cost to doing things that way.
Yeah.
And I know some people in the fan base would have been okay with that cost. I know that. I know some.
Do you think so?
Some people, yeah. I genuinely think some people would have been okay with it.
Do you know how long it took us to get over processing guys out?
I think a lot of people would have been really uncomfortable. And I don't think that's how Coach Rule wants to do business. I know that's not how Coach Rule wants to do business, right? Because I can make the argument today that there are guys on that roster already that they might be a little better off playing, but it would be at the sacrifice of guys that he thinks have done things the right way for a long time, and then he wants to reward them.
Man.
Is that a hot take?
I feel like my phone is tapped.
Is that a hot take?
Mm-mm.
Because
it's not. That's really not.
And
I can't believe you just said that.
But why? Right? Why does that matter? Because it shows the young guys, it shows the guys you're bringing in doing stuff the way he did with Coach Saterfield, shows those guys and everybody else. It shows a Dana Holgerson. That's why you're able to go get a high-profile guy in the middle of a season, because he sees the way you treat people. At a certain point, the way you treat people is better for long-term success than winning early, I think. Now, yes, you have to win at some point. Full stop, right? You have to win at some point. You can be the nicest guy in the world. You got to win at some point. We've seen it over and over and over. Is there anybody in the world nicer than Mike Riley? Probably not a lot,
No.
right?
What's that?
But at some point, you have to win at a higher level.
You just gave me pause.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like drop something on you there.
No, it's fine. It's just the things that I have to manage in my head on a personal level.
Sure, 100%.
Because I mean, you think I don't want the quartet? They call themselves
Yeah.
the quartet, right? Donovan Jones, Caleb, Amari Sanders, Braylon Pruitt.
Yeah, a little barbershop quartet.
And they practice together, the same units. And I think to myself, like in 1 minute, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
1 minute I may say, oh man, play the young guys, let them get cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, nah, they're not ready for these guys yet. Let's just hang in there and see what happens.
What did we say a couple weeks ago?
No, hang on. I do that 15 times a week.
Yeah.
15 times a week I think like that. And I have to fight it. And I wrestle. And I have some tug of wars. And I got to settle down. And I have to say to myself, okay, what's the desired outcome? The desired outcome, I think a part of Coach Rule wants to reward the guys. if he has a character flaw, you guys haven't hit it yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost too other-centered.
Sure. Because there's some things that could be better for him if he did them a little differently.
Yep. Oh,
100.
that what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
If he had pulled the ripcord on certain things,
there are some things that could be different if he would have made some. But you don't
think they'd be a better team if Riley Van Poppel was playing right now?
There's a lot of those.
That's what I mean. But that's one that's like obvious because we've seen him play.
But hear what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying he's sacrificing wins for his feels.
No.
What I'm saying is excuse me. He's not trying to go alone, to go fast.
And
he wants to go far.
So far is the key here.
So he's taking other people with him. And I think
he doesn't just want to win today. He wants to win forever.
It's a super fine line.
He said that out loud.
And I'm just giving it like the analogy. And I think for him, and I said this after Indiana, I said the tough spot for him going into Columbus is I still have some goals ahead of me. I have some assurances for guys. There's no way, Ravi, a coach, we had Van Poppel in my head.
Sorry.
There's no way a coach, the first thing he says if I press him about players and decisions, will he start talking about postseason opportunities for seniors to have the opportunity to go make money that wouldn't ordinarily have gotten it if he would have pulled the ripcord?
100%. He understands.
Like, I can't say that that's the part we're missing.
So here's what I think he's willing to sacrifice.
So the balance is, who am I at my core, and what am I willing to compromise? Who am I at my core, and what am I willing to compromise?
What am I willing to compromise that doesn't compromise my core?
You don't even need to get that far. Just who am I at my core, and what am I willing to compromise?
Because everybody has to compromise something. Some people compromise what they're about.
He's not trying to get there fast. If he wanted to get there fast, he would go alone.
We wouldn't have seen half the roster come back.
It just that was the balance, man.
And he's said this to us out loud. He said
those guys were loyal to him.
He's trying to build something sustainable. He literally said I think this is almost an exact quote. I want to be able to win here forever. Right? That's what he's not willing to sacrifice wins now for people's feelings or anything like that. He's willing to sacrifice wins now for wins forever. And I also think there's one more thing he's willing to sacrifice for. He's not willing, I don't think, to try and...
I don't know if he's linearly making a conscious effort to not get a win.
Oh, I agree. I think he thinks the guys that are there now are good enough to get...
Yeah. See, the thing about...
Yes. Because if they weren't...
The thing about stretching this thing out as long as it went this season is because the defense was pretty capable.
Yeah.
So
it gave them a chance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he doesn't think he can win with the guys he has now. I think he understands that there was another way where he maybe could have won faster. But I also think he's not willing to sacrifice. We've heard him talk about the future, guys' future all the time. He's not willing to sacrifice guys' futures.
Why do you think he has young guy practices in the middle of getting ready for games?
Yeah. But even like the old guys, right? He could pull the ripcord on some of these old guys that have a chance to play professional football because they are good, by the way. Yeah. And that would damage them in the future. And guess what? Maybe that hurts you now, maybe it doesn't. But you know what it does? It certainly helps you down the line with everybody else in the room that sees that. Yeah. Coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy, Tim Verghese. There's a lot going on, not just with Nebraska USC, but also on the recruiting trail. We will talk to Tim coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
There's as talented a team and roster as there is. They've got 6'3" corners. They've got length, power. They can rush the passer. They'll play man, overload the box, take away the run, and force you to throw the ball against big, long guys who are tremendously talented. So, Coach Lynn's done a really nice job there, and we're going to have to play our best.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we're joined now by our friend Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Buffering, maybe. There he is. Tim, how you doing this morning?
Hey, not too bad. How about y'all?
B, what's up, buddy? I feel like I just saw you. Oh, wait, I did. What's going on, my man?
Hey, not too much. Not too much. Good luck to y'all tonight. How are y'all feeling?
Good, right? It's interesting because I have so many connections to that school, but like our team is really, really excited, and I'm excited just because I always love those times, TV, where you get a chance to like match emotions, and we think that North will be extremely emotionally charged, and I'm excited to see like if we can match that energy, right? We're 6 in a row going to state has never been done. So there's a lot. It's a lot, man. It's a lot, and I think the team that manages their emotions tonight will be the team that wins.
For sure, yeah. And I wrote it last week, and I don't know if you saw it, but after seeing y'all last week, and because I saw y'all at the beginning of the year, I've been checking in throughout the year, but after seeing y'all last week and the way the offense runs, like I know people out there don't think anyone's got a shot against Millard South, but I think y'all control games a lot better than they do, just in terms of controlling flow offensively and keeping teams away from the football. I think y'all do a really good job of that, and I think like y'all have a better shot than I think most people are giving you.
Yeah,
should y'all make it to the next stage?
Yeah, I respect that, and I mean, obviously, Kearney's going to have some say about that, and Millard South is going to have some say about that, and North will. But I do think, Tim, if we get to that point, the one thing that I've said all year that I believe, because I know I'm not going to say they're better than us, but they
super talented squad.
I mean,
yeah, hyper talented.
Sure, they're better than we are. But I've asked all year for just a chance. We just want the chance, right? Like, just give us the opportunity. If we get our heads beat in or whatever, like, fine. But we want the shot at it, and so, we'll see what happens. Kearney's not going to lay down, and Coach Cool is really good with part twos, like rewinds. But Millard South is so goddamn explosive.
Yeah,
like they're the one team, Tim, that I've seen that even if you play harder longer than them,
might not matter.
They still can win.
Yeah.
So
they can score so quick. They can. Yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
It kind of avalanches on you pretty quickly.
I'm wishing it's gonna be a good night for all the classes. There's some tough matchups. There's a doozy with Central City and Sydney that I would like to see. Wahoo's got a big one with surprise Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about controlling tempo. I wonder if Auburn can keep the ball long enough.
Yeah.
And then I want to watch Scott Seward. Two good quarterbacks in that one, Tim. Scott and Seward. You got to check out Haas and Van Dyke. These guys are really good.
Yeah, I'll give them a look. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm staying home tonight. Kind of just going to watch as much as I can here and down in Texas because it's full on playoff season. So I'm excited to just follow everything
at home too. Home of Phelps Field.
Tim, speaking of Texas, I know you were putting out some. I think you call them your Tim bits over on Inside Nebraska over there.
Was good.
Obviously, you get the Dawson Merritt flip, but you mentioned Texas, and it sounded like, at least from what I was seeing on your tweets, and I don't want to spoil too much of the stuff for you, but sounds like Michael Terry is maybe back in the picture in a way that maybe we didn't expect.
Yeah, it's been interesting that recruitment. So back in the spring when I joined the beat and I was gathering intel on that, everyone around him basically said if it's not going to be Texas, it's going to be Nebraska. Essentially, the one thing Nebraska has to do is convince him to basically shed the hometown, the team that he grew up rooting for, and overcome the proximity and show him they have a plan like Texas does, because Texas had a plan for him. Texas is a team that's in contention this year and is expected to be in contention throughout his college career. And Nebraska's basically just had to match that. And they've checked a lot of boxes. And ultimately, it comes down to the heart. And you heard it with Dylan Raiola last year when he flipped. It was like, hey, at the end of the day, it was my heart. It's where my heart wanted to be. Dawson Merritt, when he flipped, it's where his heart wanted to be. I think if you ask Michael Terry and you ask the people around Michael Terry where his heart's at, I think his heart's having a hard time saying no to Nebraska. And that's been the case for a couple of months now. Ultimately, what happened is over the summer, Texas upped the push to the point where everyone felt, hey, there's no way anyone's beating Texas at this point. And most people thought this recruitment would be done in the summer. I myself included was like, okay, well, I think he's going to make a decision and then go into his season. That didn't happen. And if he had made that decision over the summer, it would have been Texas. And he's continued to prolong this recruitment. Many people on the Texas side of things felt, okay, he's visiting for the Texas-Georgia game, and that's the only visit he's got left. Once that happens, he's probably going to shut things down after that. That also has not happened. He's still keeping things open, and now that's given Nebraska this opportunity to continue chipping away. They were back down there last week. And now it's to a point where it's like, okay, we're heading into the final stretch here, and Nebraska's basically pulling even. Like the one thing left with a lot of these guys beyond Michael Terry, really the only box that's left to check is winning. Like, win one or two more games, you're very much in that mix. But I think at this point, Nebraska's given him every reason to join. The only thing left is, like, can they prove that they're going to contend to the same level that Texas could over the next 3-4 years?
TV, how do you think Nebraska's been able to maintain such momentum when, I mean, we basically talk every other day about how close the sky is to the ground, right? I mean, like, but they just kind of function at a high level doing what they do.
Yeah, I mean, because Nebraska has stuff to sell off the field now, which they didn't in years past, and I think also you cannot underestimate or overstate, I guess, the importance of the staff and their ability to build relationships. They do such a good job, from Matt Rule down to recruiting assistants, down to even current players and recruits. They do a really good job of getting guys connected and keeping them connected to the point where it's like, hey, like with Dawson Merritt, it's like, hey, you know, even when he committed to Bama, it was like, hey, I'm going to keep a couple, I'm going to continue talking to a couple schools. When he said that, he was talking about solely Nebraska. Like, it's because Nebraska is the only school that he had multiple relationships at, from like head coach down to the defensive coordinator, down to the position coach, down to other assistants on the staff, down to Dylan Raiola, down to other people in the linebacker room, down to the commits that started working on him, and then Jamar Mosey joins the staff, and all of that. It's just Nebraska. It's to the point where not even overwhelmed, but it's like guys consistently are like, hey, I hear from Nebraska more than anyone else. Like, I'll give this straight up an example. 2026 4-star defensive end Hunter Higgins, like he put it best. He's like, in this day and age, a lot of schools kind of resort to like the mass texting, where you can text you text one text in this in this app, and then you can mass send it out to however many recruits you want. And he's like, well, I get that from a lot of schools, but with Nebraska, I don't get texts, I get calls, and it's practically every single day. So the staff is putting in the work to get to know these kids at a genuine level, so these guys believe, hey, I'm going to be taken care of. And then when they get to Nebraska, Rule himself said the facilities, the strength and conditioning program, the nutrition program, like these guys have reasons to come to Nebraska beyond the football field, where they can kind of look at the results and be like, okay, well, I know I'm still going to get developed at Nebraska, and I can make the NFL from Nebraska, and I can be a part of something. Like, I could be a part of turning something around. I think that vision is still being sold really well. At the end of the day, eventually these wins do have to come, but Nebraska's got enough working for them outside of the on-field product that they can manage and maintain recruiting momentum.
TV, full disclosure, I think our listening audience knows in the summer I usually adopt a coach, and he's kind of my guy. And this year it was a tough choice, but I went with Rob Dvorak, just because, you know, I would tell these stories how I feel like he never really had everybody else's starting. He was always kind of like the polisher, the fixing upper, the making it look better than how you got it kind of guy. And it's just weird how he still continues to kind of fly under the radar as a coach and as a recruiter, when his room, I mean, just take a peek-see. That's pretty good. And he seemingly did it overnight.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And like, that's the thing. Like, I saw some talk like from fans a couple of weeks ago, like, oh, like Rule just hired some of his buddies. He got guys that are too young. Talking about a couple of guys on staff would mention Dvorak, and I was like, I don't think y'all have been watching the same Rob Dvorak that I've been watching the last couple of months, because the effort he's putting in on the recruiting trail, the development of John Bullock, like, again, beyond anything, take recruiting out of it, the development of John Bullock and Mekhi Bear is remarkable. Like, that happens because of coaching. That happens because a coach believed in those two guys and is getting the best out of those two guys. Like again, when John Bullock, when Nebraska's staff got here, when Dvorak got here, John Bullock was like the 5th or 6th safety in the rotation, and they just plucked him out of that rotation. They were like, move him to linebacker. Let's see what happens. And now you're seeing what happened. The guy's playing at like an all Big Ten level. Like, that's incredible. that's not a thing that happens at other programs. That is not a thing that just happens at a consistent level. Beyond anything, that's something you can point to, that development, and point to that story and use that on the recruiting trail for the next half decade, and it can work.
We're talking with Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim mentioned a couple guys, obviously Dawson Merritt with the flip, mentioned Michael Terry still on the recruiting trail. I know that there's some, information out there in the ether about a couple other guys from this class that still might be on the table or might be looking at flipping. I know last week we talked about Chase Lofton. Is there any other names we should kind of keep an eye out for?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, one, to keep an eye on the receiver side of things, keep an eye on Jordan Allen. There's people close to him that don't believe he's going to stick with his Louisville commitment, but he did make an OV to Georgia Tech last weekend. I'd say Georgia Tech's a favorite right now. If Nebraska can get him in town for that Wisconsin game, I think they've got a real shot. That's one to keep an eye on. That's obviously he plays at Buford, played with Dillon last year, plays with Dayton this year. That's a big one. Aiden Manate, the safety out of Hawaii. That's a guy the staff loves. Like that's a guy they think is a day one contributor at safety or corner. You go back and watch his film over the last 2 years. He's played St. John Bosco. He's played Mater Dei. He's played Bishop Gorman, and he's held his own. He's not only held his own, he's kind of dominated in coverage. I think his performance against Mater Dei as a junior is one of the better individual game performances I've seen from a DB in a good bit. He's a ball player, and he committed to Cal over Nebraska over the summer. NIL, Cal made a late NIL surge, but Nebraska stayed consistent. Donovan Raiola went out to Hawaii last week, mainly to see Houston Torres, their 3-star center commit, but also stopped by to see Aiden, and I think those two things have Nebraska trending. People at least close to him don't believe he's going to end up signing with Cal, so I'd keep an eye on Nebraska there as well. Those are the two big ones. Chase Lofton, obviously, as well. Like that one, just wherever the wind blows at this point. Like I feel like a Texas A&M visit could happen, a Florida State visit could happen. That's one where Nebraska. I felt a lot better about Nebraska's chances going into that UCLA game than I did coming out of it, and even to this day, I feel like it's more of an open race than it was leading into that UCLA game.
Tim, for Nebraska in terms of like tomorrow, is there anything that you think has to happen or a way that you want it to look that influences recruiting west of the Rockies? Because it's kind of a thing, but it's not really a thing. As it relates to recruiting, how does a game like this rank?
Yeah, it's important. I think just in the sense that these are still two national brands that players coast to coast are paying attention to. I mean, Nebraska is going to have two targets in 2026. Basically seeing them in person. Brandon Arrington, the 4-star athlete out of California, and then Sean Alston, a 4-star running back out of Ohio. Both of those guys are going to be on the opposite sideline, obviously coming in to visit USC, but both have Nebraska offers. Both are interested in Nebraska, and a good performance in person, can go a long ways for Nebraska. I mean, I can say this, like when Nebraska went to go play Ohio State, Trey Taylor, 2027 4-star quarterback, was visiting Ohio State at the time. It was his second time seeing Nebraska. He's going to be back next week for the Wisconsin game, but he was impressed with the way Nebraska played against Ohio State. The fact that they held their own and kept that game competitive, that meant a lot to him. And I think the same thing, if Nebraska can do the same thing to USC and even come out with a win, show some offensive improvement, it can go a long way, not with just the guys in the building, but the people that are watching on TV. Because again, like those are two national brands, players coast to coast are going to be watching, even though these are two teams that, aren't necessarily having the best seasons per se. But again, these are recognizable brands. These are brands that, do a good job recruiting. I mean, obviously for the West Coast push, I don't think Nebraska is like trying as hard as they used to out West, but it's at the same time, it's hey, you get what you can get. And if you can find ways to convince guys to come out here from California, you take as many of the California kids as you can get.
Tim, have you heard at all? I know it's only been, a week and a half, whatever. Have you heard any recruits, commits, anybody talk about the Dana Holgorsen kind of impact on that side of things? I know we talked about the offense a lot, but I have to imagine, at least for offensive-minded guys, that they're at least thinking about that with Nebraska now in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, I think everyone just wants to see what it looks like. Like again, like it's like you want to go out there, you want to see, just a better structured offense. And again, I don't know how I don't think we're going to see a brand new offense by any means. I think we're going to see just like better sequencing of plays, better game script, things like that, and a more like I think a conjoined offensive plan. And I think that's what everyone's really looking for. Everyone, I think, is in wait and see mode just to see what this looks like. I think Dana's resume speaks for itself. Some of what he does on and off the field speaks for itself. And so ultimately, I think it's just going to come down to performance. And I wouldn't be surprised, though, like, hey, they have a good performance this weekend. You see recruits buzzing about kind of what Dana can bring and what they can do in Dana's offense.
Tim, do you have kind of a feel on what you expect to see? One of my main things or takeaways from this is Nebraska's got to try to make USC one-handed. I don't want them to get, Marks and those guys going on the ground. What you think? Where do you see Nebraska being able to kind of manage the line of scrimmages?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I think there's going to be opportunities to run the ball. Like they're talented up front, but they're smaller. They're not as big as some of these other Big Ten programs. And so, having some type of offensive success, running the ball and trying to keep Dylan Raiola clean would go a long ways. Obviously, there's some talented pass rushers. I'm a big Anthony Lucas guy. I'm a big Braylon Shelby guy, and some of those guys on the back end of the defense, they might not have Kamari Ramsey tomorrow, but he's a guy I'm a big fan of. But on the other side of things, yeah, I mean, USC's line is one that doesn't give up a whole lot of pressure. I think they've done a good job of bolstering that line down, and especially recently they've played at a very high level. But for Nebraska, in my opinion, I think it just comes down to trying to put that pressure on Jaden and playing contained, because he can kill you with his legs. That's something Miller Moss can't really do, but Jaden can. And a big thing on USC side, they consistently going up into the bye week have fans specifically been like, why don't we run the ball enough? We have two really good backs, and they do. Woody Marks is tremendous. Behind him, Quinton Joyner's like a change of pace, really fast kid. And both of those guys, I think can give Nebraska some problems if they let them. And so I want to see if Lincoln kind of gets back to running the ball a little more, does revert back to a little more 50-50 or even 60-40 running the ball with a dual threat quarterback making his first start with the program. I just like to see how Nebraska contends that, because again, this is a lot of unknowns. Nebraska's talked all year about how, hey, teams will come out and give them something different out of the bye, or give them something different when they play them. At some point, you have to adjust. Can you adjust? Is Nebraska going to be able to adjust on the fly?
And don't kick the ball to Branch.
Yes, correct.
Under any circumstances.
That's our Jet Award winner. I've seen more tape on that. I don't know why he kind of flies for as much as a guy like him can fly under the radar. He needs more touches. I get it. He's a little guy, and you want to, like, I guess, have him last,
preserve him a little bit,
man.
No, I mean, I don't think on the USC side of things they haven't been super thrilled with his effort and the development of his route running.
I could totally see him being a one-trick pony. Right? Hey, just give me the ball in space. It doesn't work like that.
Got to run some routes.
I could see that, Tim.
Yeah. So, but I don't think he's going to stay at USC. I'll say that much too. I don't think he's there past the season.
Yeah. It was his coach had some interesting remarks when we wanted to bring him in. Usually the Jet Award winners fly in, and we got the hard no because he needs development in spring ball. So I was like, oh,
haven't got that one before.
I wonder if he knows that. But anyway,
Tim, I wanted to ask you about, like, obviously USC struggled in Big Ten play so far, but you look at, like, okay, all of their losses are one-score games. I know that is kind of poison in the ear of Nebraska fans, but have you seen anything consistently from USC? I don't want to say a blueprint or whatever, but have you seen a consistent kind of flaw in their makeup that you think Nebraska can exploit the same way some of these other Big Ten teams have?
Yeah, I mean they're soft and they kind of collapse late in games, they can't put up a fight late in games, and that's Lincoln Riley teams. That's the Lincoln Riley identity, unfortunately. And I thought that would maybe shift a little bit with the new defensive staff, but it's kind of continued, and I think that's where Nebraska wants to be the more physical team. Be the more physical team. You have the opportunity to be that. You want to win the turnover battle, you have that opportunity. This is a team that's going to give you opportunities to win this game because they are again, I don't think they're the most mentally tough team around, and you see that when they face pressure, when they face adversity, they aren't the toughest team, and that's the formula. I mean, they're very talented. Again, don't get me wrong, when you're talking Jimmys and Joes, they've got the Jimmys and Joes in every single department, and it comes down to mentality, it comes down to coaching aggressiveness. And
they look disjointed.
Yes.
It's like
and that's what I do wonder about it on the defensive side specifically, where you're seeing it with Nebraska a little bit, where you bring in a new DB's coach, he's got a new identity or a new idea, and sometimes you see the front is a little disjointed from the back. And you go and look at what USC did with their defensive staff. It's a new defensive coordinator. It's a new D-line coach. It's a former head coach now coaching linebackers. It's a former defensive coordinator now coaching the secondary. I kind of wonder a little bit if there are too many cooks in the kitchen on the defensive side of things where, yeah, you're right. I mean, it looks disjointed on both sides, but defensively, I think the easy answer is because it's 4 different guys with coordinator/head coach experience that want the opportunity to talk.
Hey, how many calls do you think Lynn broke off to Malo over to see what's going on? And it's like, hey, this is your crosstown rival, but you used to work for me. What do you got? 0 blitz, Lynn. 0 blitz.
Bad news, bud. We got the air raid now. Good luck. Tim, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, TV.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Coming up next, we got more Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Before we get to Hitting the Road, brought to you by MH Hospitality, we got a phone call. I think I might know who this guy is on the Hurrdat hotline. We've got DJ waiting to talk to us. DJ, what's going on, man?
Ravi, how are you, my man?
Oh, there it is. I thought it was you. What's up, buddy?
Wow, this is going to be interesting. Dr. Rizak, how we doing, buddy?
Super good and getting better, man. I'll tell you what. If I was any better, I'd be twins.
What's going on this morning, man? What's on your mind? Besides game day, man. Are you hype already?
Yeah, I'm always hyped. I'm always up. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to call because I was thinking about this when you guys were talking, and like I just believe in the power of belief, right? And I think like there's a missed opportunity for Nebraska fans to actually, and DB, you know this because we talk about it a lot. Like when other people are for you, you can feel it. Right?
Yeah.
And I think here's the thing. I don't think Nebraska fans are wrong because they've filled the stadium for 20 years. They've shelled out the dough. They're traveling in droves to LA Coliseum. That's beautiful, and I love that. And they could help, I think, Coach Rule and the team by getting behind in that power of belief. I think sometimes we become too transactional, and there's cutout, right? You know this. I'm part of a big Italian family. Like the mafia, that cutout is normal, right? I mean, like one day Uncle Tony's at your communion, and the next day no one's talking to him, right? But that has a feel to it, and I think players can kind of sense that and feel that. And I love Nebraska. Like I still. I mean, the coach who's no longer calling plays, was the guy that said my son wasn't good enough. And I get that, but I'm still a Nebraska fan. And I love Nebraska. I've loved Nebraska for 25 years.
Yeah.
I don't get to follow it as much because I'm doing it, 500 miles away now. But I just think the power of the state of Nebraska and the fans, if we could feel like that they would give them time to get this right, it makes – that's why there's no place like Nebraska.
DJ, let me ask you something while I got you, because I don't ever remember talking to you on the phone on the show before, so I'm going to take advantage of this little bit of time. How fine a line is it for you, right? You run a business, head of a household. You have to make decisions where you don't want to you want to let the process play out, even though you may have a feel that you see the end coming. Like, what's kind of the balance there when you're trying to develop a culture?
Well, you need alignment, right? We always say this, it's okay to disagree, right? Disagreement is good. There's like the fact that you can have differing opinions and the passion, right? That comes along with that is beautiful, because that can power anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there just has to be a decision made. And when we walk out of the room, there's got to be one voice. One voice. And what I think people love about Nebraska and the infighting, and because Nebraska fans are really smart, like that's the other thing, which is why I think Coach Rule came in here and he's like, I got to be really honest with them, right? I got to be able to open the kimono. I'm not going to play the us against the world and Bo and no, you're on the inside or the outside style. I think the fine line is when a decision's made, that's what we're doing. And I think when we talk about West Side football, or any great cultures, my company, there's a lot of opinions. And at the end of the day, sometimes there has to be one voice, one decision, and then we have to get behind it, right? We have to get behind it, because we can't have all these people standing up trying to get out of the boat, because sometimes you are going to have leaks in the boat. But we all got to be rowing in the same direction. We can't be standing up and getting out and, criticizing. That's that cutout, right? So if we can suspend judgment for a little bit, trust the people that are in charge.
Suspend judgment.
Come with an open heart.
Huh.
I always think about this. When we stand and look at someone in struggle and we just judge them and criticize them, that's pity. No one wants anybody's pity. But the act of moving towards someone is compassion. And I think I love Nebraska fans are so awesome in the fact that if there's an online poll, they're going to win it, right? They're going to do everything they possibly could do to win it. And what Coach Rule is saying is, give us time to do this. This is my opinion, right? Give us time to do this, and we'll win it. We'll win it together. And they haven't given it time yet, right?
DJ, let me ask you this, right? Because I know you've been super successful and been able to build some things. I'm sure there was at some point in that process, right, where you're trying to instill the culture, you're trying to get everybody on the same page, you're trying to present one voice, and you've looked at it and you go, okay, I can do this and maybe be a little bit more successful today, but it might be at the cost of what I believe is possible down the line. How do you weigh those two things? Because I think that's where Nebraska's at right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, in business, it's called cash. How much cash in the bank do I have, right? I mean,
but you're talking about like emotional equity with Nebraska, right? Like it's still sort of about equity.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think Nebraska fans shouldn't be chastised or, like you shouldn't be this way. They've showed up for 20, 60 years, right? They've showed up for 60 years. I also think there's an and to that.
Mm-hmm.
And we need your help. And we can't do this without you. And this is just tearing us down and helping teams like Minnesota and Iowa and Wisconsin, because they love the infighting. They love the fact that we can't get the power of 1.8 million people behind us. Now, I get to be a part of Notre Dame football, which is intense as well, right? And I will say this: the intensity is different. My opinion, the intensity is different because it's spread out all across the country, all across the world, really. It's not that there aren't the naysayers, and it isn't that there's not the pressure. It's just not condensed in one state with 1.8 million people with the eyeballs on it. And, you know, it's like one time Dominic, my oldest son, was about 11, and I'm cooking breakfast, and he's like, hey, don't burn the eggs. Hey, don't forget about the toast. Hey, when are you going to start the bake? And I was like, what? Hey, I know how to cook breakfast. And he was like, I know. I just thought you should feel how I feel when I play soccer.
Oh.
And you're cheering me on. And I'm like, oh, so those aren't really helpful? And he's like, no, keep your mouth shut. And I was like, oh, yeah, because cooking breakfast kind of got to be a lot more stressful when someone was like, in my face.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, my man.
So anyways, and I just think what he's doing, it feels right? And my kids weren't a part of it, right? But I know Caleb, I know Christian Jones, I know Tristan Albano, and I talk to them, and we talk about culture, and we always say love is like the wind. You can feel it. And their recruiting was different than my son's. Doesn't make it better or worse. It was just different.
Yeah.
And I think at Notre Dame, my kids feel loved, so that's good. They're in a good place. Dom's at Vanderbilt. He feels loved. That's beautiful. If we could get behind and love this program and do the things we do so well as a fan base, this is what intrigues, I think, Coach Rule to be like, you know, we can win it all.
Wow.
Awesome stuff.
Glad everybody else got a snippet of what I get to experience, man. Love you, buddy.
Hey, and don't tell Coach Free that I keep saying we about Nebraska.
All right, man. It's a deal.
Your secret's safe with us, DJ. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Great show. Love to watch it.
Appreciate it. Isn't he something?
That's our guy, DJ.
That's why I talk the way I do.
So that's why you gained some emotional maturity. I get it.
Dude, it's
we didn't quite get to hitting the road with MH Hospitality, but that was great stuff. We will definitely hit on some Nebraska USC stuff as the Huskers hit the road later in the show. But make sure you get out to mhhospitality.net to see how you can stay once and create memories forever.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
You know, obviously he's called a lot of games, and the games he called as a head coach, obviously he was always on the field. Probably nowadays, with the new play sheet, new words, it'd be easier to be in the box. But I think he's still working through all that. I think we have a decision, but I don't want to say it in case he changes his mind. Because that's never bothered me. I've always felt like wherever someone feels most comfortable, it's at the end of the day, it's the play call that matters the most. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the field, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the box. We're still working through it.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill while we are efforting Jessica Coody from the Husker
she's
Radio Sports Network.
She's never late. What is going on?
Want to remind you as we wait for Jessica that you can come here next week, hang out with us. It's your last chance for the live breakfast this year. Will be a week from today prior to the Wisconsin game. You can come out here, get some breakfast, get some cocktails, and get a chance to win some tickets and a parking pass, which honestly is the most appealing part to me. Need one of them parking passes.
Well, you need a compass.
Dude, I do, man. I'm terrible getting around that stadium. It's hectic down there. Parking pass would help me out a lot, but you'll get one if you come here and register. You have a chance to win one from our friends at Tickets for Less. Make sure you get to Eventbrite and register for that breakfast. Reserve your spot. We are joined now by our friend Jessica Coody from the Husker Radio Network. What's up, Jessica?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for not making me go in the first hour today. I'm not really the most early bird that you've ever met.
That's all Shane's fault. I'm going to be honest with
you. So here's the deal. Since you're always gatekeeping my time, how were you a couple of minutes late? That is very un-JC-like.
Me? I'm late?
Well, I mean, we're just kind of ready to go to you. I know you'd be traumatized, so I don't want to hurt you. No, Jess, you were on time. It was perfect. You're good.
Yeah. I feel like because there are times that you call me before 8 o'clock in the morning that it really puts me on a bad start to the day. So,
wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Jessica, how's your day start?
You call me sometimes on your way to work. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
It's important.
Are you kidding me?
He's calling you like 6:30 in the morning?
A couple
He
times.
has before, yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well, it was
One
like
time I
on
didn't know
the-
where we were
the
going.
It was the last road trip, and you were trying to figure out what time to be on the plane or something, and I was like, we're already starting? We're already starting. Okay.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that has to babysit him when he's around.
It's a dual team effort between Ben and myself on the road.
Yeah. So it's I do joke. I need your kind of like, come on, like the prodding, and B-Mac's like, look, man, let's go. So I don't feel so bad.
You know, it's like I said, it's a team effort to get DB ready to go on game days, but that's all right. We'll do it.
So you've
we'll
had
for DB.
Sometimes there's a team effort to get him to the stadium too, but that's okay.
So you've had a chance. Like we'll hear the player profiles this week, the interviews. You've been around. How do you describe kind of the mood heading into Los Angeles?
You know, I only chatted with Isaiah Nair this week. He's the Cornhusker conversation, so I know players weren't available, and
Yeah.
he's obviously a big piece. And I liked how he approached it and just the things that he was saying. But he is a pro and does handle things very well. But I get a sense that it's going well. I didn't specifically ask about anything just because I'm not going to go there right now.
Right.
But he, throughout just, the conversation about how things are going, how they handled the bye week, this is a team that, yeah, they had other goals that are not attainable, but there's still other goals that are still, on the table. And so I think this is a team that they're very, very close-knit group. He's someone that transferred in. He's only been here a year. And he told me his favorite thing about Nebraska, and he doesn't regret it for a second. His decision is just how tight-knit that locker room is and just the relationships that he's been able to build. So I think when you have that, it allows for you to navigate a big change like this a little bit easier than in other places where you don't have those bonds and relationships. And it sounds cliche, but I really truly believe that this is a team that is in it together. And so I think about all the things that some of those older guys have had to navigate through together. So I don't think this is anything bigger than some of the other things that they've had to go through together during their time as Huskers. But I think this is a group that'll rally and they'll, figure it out. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing, completely what Dana Holgorsen, his offense looks like. I think there's going to be some adjustments along the way, but I think it's a team that's bought in. It's hungry. They want to be good. They want to score the football. They want to be able to execute in the red zone. So I think whatever it takes to get there, they're more than willing to. Whatever Coach Rule says, hey, let's do it. Let's figure it out, and let's be better.
Jessica, do you think that's kind of an underrated part of this whole storyline? What you talked about there, whether it's the close-knit locker room or the kind of the culture that Coach Rule's set in place. It seems like he's been constantly trying to prepare these guys to be able to thrive in chaos, not knowing necessarily what that chaos would be. And then all of a sudden they're in this situation and they've been preparing for it without even necessarily realizing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think they, I think that this is a group, every player that I've sat down with over the course of 2 years, really, that, you talk about the Verghese Bufords, the Ty Robinsons, the Nash Hopmakers, all of these guys that they wholeheartedly, full-on believe in the direction that Coach Rule is taking this program. And so I think when he makes a decision, they're like, okay, let's do it, and especially I think just for the offensive players, I think for as much as they really like Saterfield, and again, this is just my opinion here, I think they also realized that things weren't working and that Coach Rule got up there and said it. Look, I think it needed to change, and I've got a guy that I really believe can help with that change. And Dana Holgorsen's resume speaks for itself. I had a chance when I was at Oklahoma. He was at Oklahoma State for a couple of years. Then he went to West Virginia where they just lit up the scoreboard. Even Houston offenses, the proof is in the pudding with Dana Holgorsen. So I think if you're an offensive player, you want to be able to produce, right? And I think there's no doubt about it that Dana Holgerson's system and offenses can produce. So I think everybody, realizes that, hey, we want to win at least one more game. We want to win out. We want to win 3 more games, but we want to go 1-0 this week. What's the best opportunity to go 1-0 this week is to make some tweaks to the offenses.
You have some interesting perspective with your Oklahoma background and Lincoln Riley. Who do you think whose personality do you think is better built to handle the last couple of bye weeks? Would you rather be at Southern Cal or the capital city if you kind of had to handle the fan bases, knowing both coaches' temperaments pretty well?
Coach Rule.
Right? It kind of seems like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Lincoln Riley hasn't faced much adversity, though. He hasn't been one that's had to really battle through some of these situations where a fan base is completely, and I wouldn't say Nebraska fan base is turned by any means, but USC's fan base, they're starting to turn on Lincoln Riley. So I think it's a kind of a different situation. And Coach Rule has been through he's been to programs where it wasn't pretty and they had to grind it out and battle through. And I don't think Lincoln Riley's been through a situation like this because he was handed the keys to a Ferrari at Oklahoma. He, even though he came into a situation where Oklahoma was 8-5 and the fan base was pretty unhappy with an 8-5 season, but he came in and was able to really get the offense going. So he was really well loved from the start at Oklahoma. He wasn't disliked at Oklahoma till he left them after the Big 12 championship when he had said he wasn't going to LSU and all that debacle. So I don't know. I don't think he's really had a situation like what he's in right now. We'll see how he navigates it from here on out, being that they had different kinds of expectations and some of the little bit of the turmoil. Whereas I think Coach Rule is, again, a different kind of situation where he's turning around a program. Lincoln Riley has not really, I guess, had to do that where it's in this kind of situation, I guess.
Jessica, before we let you go here, I want to make sure we touch on a little of the Husker men's basketball team. This is
she can double dip.
I mean,
men's or women's.
DB and I were talking about this.
I can actually triple dip if you want to ask me about women's basketball too. or
wrestling.
Dip if you
want to go quadruple? Or how about quintuple?
I mean, I was just going to stick with men's basketball. That's okay. That's all right. But, no, this is
works for me. Works for me.
This is a kind of a unique team. It seems like early on with Fred Hoiberg here, it might be the most kind of cohesive and coherent version of a roster he's had, but they have such a hard time shooting the basketball. Like, how has that played out for what you've seen just through the first few games of the season?
Yeah, and I had a chance to chat with Coach Hoiberg before the last game, and you could tell he's a little bit, I don't want to say frustrated, but just trying to figure out because just, realistically, it should be a team that's shooting the basketball better than it is. It's not like they're forcing and taking bad looks and bad shots. They're getting really good looks at the three. It's just not going down. And I think they have good enough shooters that it's going to start falling, and it needs to in a hurry, with some of the teams that they have ahead on the schedule. But, I think that's part of it, and that's what Coach Hoiberg was saying. Sometimes whether it's going in or not going in, it can be contagious, and it's maybe more of a mental thing right now because Connor Season can shoot at a high clip. Gavin Griffiths can shoot at a high clip. Bryce Williams, same thing. Like, you've got some shooters on the floor, maybe not to the exact extent of Keisei Tominaga, but you've got some shooters that, I think they have full belief that can hit it, can knock it down when it's open, and it for whatever reason hasn't gone down here to start the season. But they've found ways to win defensively. I think this is a really good defensive team just with their length and size, and then just with the buy-in on the defensive end. So, I think and with the rotation and having so many players, and I think it's just a little bit trying to find that rhythm and chemistry when you've got so many new pieces and they're trying to learn your system and guys that haven't played together. I think it's just a process that they're working through and trying to figure out. But yeah, I think they've got some really good pieces. It's just there are some things that maybe aren't as clean right now, but you don't want to be playing your best basketball right now. You want to keep working towards that. So, and if there's anybody that can find a way to get an offense going, it's Fred Hoiberg. So I guess I'm not too concerned in that front. I think they'll find a way to, shoot the ball better here moving forward.
That's Jessica Coody, Husker Sports Network. Jessica, we appreciate it as always. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Jess.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
This is not like I'm sitting here like defeated. I'm just sitting here frustrated. You know? You're frustrated, I'm frustrated.
Nebraska has never had a bigger game than this.
We're playing three really good teams, three teams that are in the same sort of area that we're in, right?
This is round one for a trip to a bowl game.
But I felt like we needed some help, and so I just thought this was the right thing to do.
Who's up first?
USC, how do you do?
Nebraska versus USC.
Looking for Nayor, makes a catch inside the 15 to the 10 to the 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Motion toward the line of scrimmage. Fake the handoff, roll the pocket to the near side. Looking downfield as a man open downfield and shoots it too high. And it's picked off. Intercepted Malcolm Hartzog. 10 up to the 14-yard line as Malcolm Hartzog now to the 19 as he goes and starts the mashed potatoes dance. Huskers get a pick. Raiola waits, claps, gets the snap. Back to throw. Here comes the corner. Blitz shows a little pass is nearly picked off.
No caught.
And then caught by Revere and into the end zone for a touchdown.
The Huskers versus the Trojans.
Pass intercepted. Picked off. Bullock to the 25, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. John Bullock with a pick six. Oh, baby, fire up the DB boom box and get that turnover. Dance, go. Give it off to Dante off the right side. Rolls his shoulder, bangs his way in. Touchdown, Nebraska. Raiola turns, fakes the handoff, looks at a little fade route to the back corner of the end zone. Passes up, and it's caught. It is a Touchdown, Nebraska. Isaiah Nair pulls one in, and the Huskers have 6 points.
Huskers, Trojans, let's get it on.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Mike Sautter of Hurrdat Sports, NAB Preps, and the MC of the NAB Preps 2024 Football Awards Show. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, Football Awards Show coming up on December 3rd, Tuesday, 6:30. We're going to give out a Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Special Teams Player of the Year for each class, all 7 classes from A through 6-man. And been on the phone a lot this week, talking to coaches and getting feedback and stuff for that. So, yeah, it's a lot.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
How you feel about the old MC duties?
It's fine. Think banquet, but not banquet, because I would never do a banquet.
Are they going to put you on the clock? Or are they going to make you talk at a certain speed?
Talk, man. I'm just going to talk.
I'm going to be in control of the wrap-up music.
I'm going to have
so
a
I'm
script.
just going to be like, hey, bud.
Oh, are you there? Awesome. Two
I'm
slow
going to have
talkers.
a little bit of a script. You're not coming?
Yeah, come on, man. It's high school.
You're coming. You'll be there.
I love high school.
Yeah, I've been working, trying to get the finalists narrowed down and stuff like that.
So I think this is an unusually difficult year. And it's
Class
not
A is hard.
It's not because of high end. It's because of the depth of good players.
And the balance is really
ton of really good players.
It's just a lot of
and high profile guys too. I mean,
so that best wishes. On that one.
Have fun with that.
Oh, Jerome.
You know what, man? It is what it is. And
we had to Ravi, we had to Zoom on the Mr. Nebraska. We couldn't agree on email.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we
were
back and forth on email.
So I was like, hey, do you guys mind just Zooming so we can talk through this?
Yeah, the Jet Award, Mr. Football Jet Award thing. There's a panel of people, and Damon and I were on it, and we just jumped on a call because it was like email.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And one of them is the crack statistician and young Jacob Padilla. And so, to process through all the numbers, I'm like, nah, let's talk.
He don't like to process numbers he's all number based, and I'm more a little bit of both, what I see with my eyes and some numbers. So
it was, and there's a couple other people on that call, and so it was like, and I told him afterwards, I'm like, I'm surprised that went as smooth as it did.
Yeah.
There's no, I think, and
we were all in agreement.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll either talk it out than go through it on email.
Well, I don't know. According to some, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, you just can't get any good food prepared. But I didn't want to have you go into your analogy. I don't know if you guys know how many cooks are on the assembly line and everybody knows their role. And I was like, oh boy, he's pissed.
It's not an analogy. It's just literally how all kitchens work. Unless you're grandmama.
Does it drive you crazy that people say the too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, because it's not even real. They're literally just thinking about they're literally just thinking about grandma cooked Thanksgiving dinner by herself in in a house kitchen. Any professional setting, there are so many people in the kitchen. And as long as everybody knows their job, it's fine. That's it. It's fine.
Is this the penny slot or the nickel slot? I feel like
this one's for free. You get this one for free. It's just so dumb. It's a terrible analogy.
Speaking of cooks in the kitchen, North South has a lot of. Remember at the beginning of the year when we were like,
now if you want a good analogy, too many point guards on the floor. That's a good analogy. Everybody needs the ball. Got too many mouths to feed in wide receiver room. That's a good analogy.
It hasn't bothered them.
It hasn't bothered them at all.
No, it wasn't. It's almost like the entire thing is sort of a misnomer if everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Really, the problem is when people don't talk to each other and don't know their roles. That's the problem. It's not a numbers issue, right?
Yeah.
It's hey, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. That's called bad leadership. It's not too many cooks in the kitchen or too many receivers on the field. It's called bad leadership, if that's your problem.
Give me your
sorry, go ahead.
What's your Miller South plug this week? No, I say that tongue in cheek.
No,
I
mean,
of the West Side thing.
So is 52-3 last time Kearney played them, and that was middle of the season. So making up
was like week 3, right? 4.
I don't remember.
But anyway, I'm not going to.
But it's the last. I mean, that's a lot of points to make up.
Oh yeah.
In order to try and win that game, and the weather's going to cooperate tonight. How about this?
So I feel safe. Like I got a little pushback, of course, because people hate context. But I was like, that one could be closer than people
than
think.
The first time.
And I have a lot of.
You got a lot of leeway.
I got a lot of room to work with. Doesn't mean, right?
Right.
But of course, if you want, sometimes people just want to be mad about stuff.
Right.
Like, man, you said it was going to be man, listen. Yeah, I'm not falling for the old banana in a tailpipe thing. Like I know clearly.
I mean,
what I meant.
Millard North played them closer the second time too.
Right.
It was 42 points the first time. It was 39 the second time. Like they played them closer. You got a lot of wiggle room there.
What was that game at the half? Was it 22-0?
Yeah. I left at half. 23.
How many times are they going to do that?
Just shut people out.
Yeah, like you think you're kind of in the
deal.
You
kind of. Well, they did it with
Papio.
They
did it with Papio.
Yeah, Pat was at 21-7 at half. Like they were kind of in it.
It was 21-14 at one point.
Yes.
That was right after half, I think.
Yes, it was right after half against Papio, and then Papio had, a third and goal, and a personal.
But that
foul
was a
happened and
that
moved
was
it
to
back.
get it to one score, not tie the game.
Right, correct. Yeah, something if I remember right. So and then
not that I remember.
In those moments, though, in order to beat Millard South, in those moments, you have to capitalize.
You have to.
You have to capitalize.
Like the margin of error is zero.
They feel like a team where if you don't score 28, you cannot win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Doesn't it kind of seem like that?
On a night like tonight where it's going to be 60 degrees and the wind's going to be hardly nothing. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough go.
Coach Cole is usually good in part twos. How would you compare this matchup versus a couple years ago when he rolled into Feynman Stadium when they had LJ and Keegan?
Yeah, that was wild.
And we're like on the sideline. Now, that weather wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
It was windy and cold.
Yeah.
But they still rolled in there like, different. This Millard South team is
different. Yeah.
I don't know that Bellevue.
They were good.
Pretty good.
They were good. And that game.
I just don't know if there's a team that is so. I said this to Ravi. I don't know, and I'm not. Clearly, people that know me know I'm not just saying this, but Millard South is the first team I've seen in a long time where playing harder longer is not really super relevant because they can quick strike you.
Yeah. Like you still have to play harder longer. It just may not matter.
Yeah.
But right. I mean, is there?
You also don't want to poke the bear with them.
Like I'm not.
No, I'm saying in a game because Papio
they stay poked.
No,
so
they do.
I'm not getting into that.
They do, but Papio.
That's the edgiest team in the state.
So Papio was in it like at half, and then going up to the locker rooms, some words were exchanged and stuff happened, and then it was like, oh no, all right, time to get rolling.
Irrelevant.
Okay,
irrelevant.
It happened. I was there.
That doesn't make it so. Okay. It's definitely that team stays edgy.
They do, yeah.
If you think that Coach Wisdom is the type of guy that's like, oh, they said something reckless to us, I'm even more upset about staying on. No, that he looked at that score.
You stay mad.
He's like, we're better than this. We're gonna go.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
They do stay hot.
That dude knows how to motivate.
They rev high. Yeah. They rev high.
Yeah.
I think that's for sure. Is there any part of you that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Millard South not going to have a couple guys that played first time early in the season? Does that matter at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
He said no.
I think
I'm just asking. Got to ask the question.
This is a hard. It's going to be a tough go for if Kearney can get it done. It would be a huge upset.
What would they have to hold Millard South to?
Under 24.
So
and somehow score on their own.
You're just talking turnovers,
penalty,
like some sort of self-destructive to keep Millard South under 24. I mean, there's got to be.
I mean, they literally can score on any given play.
Right. So there's got to be some self-destructive things that are happening.
Yeah.
And not that's impossible. I'm just.
And Jet Tamala has been very good the last couple of weeks. Like he's been really good all year, but the last couple of weeks, buying time with his legs, running. He had 50-some yards rushing 2 weeks ago. Last week when I saw him in that first half, he was moving around. He was keeping plays alive.
I've said this before, but I kind of low-key like him. He doesn't appear to say much, You know, his dad was one of the cool guys at 7-on-7. It was like, hey man, let's just chill. Like, I'm vibing.
Yeah.
Right?
No, he seems like a real kind of like even keel guy. I played pickleball with his dad. I think they're very like similar. Like they just like real chill.
Yeah, I tried to get him to give me a tee the other day, and he wasn't going for it because he was reffing my daughter's 8U YMCA basketball game where I was the assistant coach, and I was kind of just trying to jab at him, and he just kept looking over at me and smiling. I want him to have me tee me up just for fun.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't do it.
And just the opposite. It's like we've got North, and
yeah.
You talk about love always wins. That's a coach. I told Ravi, this is the only time. Like I got up in the morning and I shot my shot. I texted him anyway. I was like, I was gonna call Larry. I dialed the number. I hung up. I'm like, shoot, it's a cell. I don't know if it's ringing on his.
Think if it went through or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did it again. It's like 6:40. And I did it again. And then I told Ravi, I was like, I feel conflicted because I want to call and express kind of what I feel and the growth and the development of their program. I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that. It's game day. We're supposed to be nasty. Forget it. I sent the text anyway.
Yeah.
And my man hit me with an I like.
Yeah.
But it will be highly, highly, highly spirited. But
you can get nasty at 7.
This is the epitome of compartmentalizing.
Yeah. Right?
For us.
Yeah.
Larry Martin is one of the best human beings you will find.
Just loves kids.
Yeah, he's 4 kids every day and has put his life into that place. And you could feel it towards the end of the game, Elkhorn South, I got there for the second half, and you could feel it. Like on their sideline, they love each other. The kids are all bought in. Everybody's community, kind of all of that stuff. And it was after they won and kind of, they got that turnover to stop it basically in the game late. People were hugging. It was cool. Like it was really, really cool. He was overly excited at the end of the game, and for as excited as he gets. He's pretty level, but yeah.
Of the rematches, let's just stay in A real quick. What team do you think is the most different from the first time they played?
Oh, I think North. I think Omaha North. They've learned a lot. They've grown a lot. They've also gotten the ball to Darian Jones a lot more, found ways to get him involved and stuff. And Cannon, I think, has gotten better. Now they lost Tyson Terry. That's a huge loss.
So I think the biggest difference for them is them adding their run game out of the shotgun element.
Yeah, it's different. And they changed their blocking scheme back to, what it basically was before instead of zone stuff. So that's a little bit different. That game was so early. What was it, week 2? One? Yeah, week
right
1.
out the gate.
Yeah.
With the split. I don't think they.
Yeah. Well, that was that rain game, right?
Yeah.
Where we.
We're obviously doing film study. We turn, at least I did. I turned week 1 off. Yeah. I don't even recognize.
So you guys look so much different.
Right. Our offense or defense.
Yeah.
And I think we combined for 21 penalties. We had 14.
There was a lot. It was a lot of penalties that night. I remember that.
14 penalties.
It's just a lot. A lot has changed. That was so long ago. Braylon Warren's gotten a lot better too. Everyone's kind of found their identity. Tay-Tay Jenkins
gotten a lot better.
Tay-Tay you kind of finally trusted him to be the guy instead of, we're going to play 3 running backs and whatever.
Is that what we did?
2 running backs and all that stuff. Like, yeah, right. I'll never forget that. I was going to your guys' West Side's practice. Coach Lamanji, Coach Calabrata were like, yeah, we're going to probably, we're going to see how it goes.
Cal's the GOAT, man.
We're going to see how it goes.
Tread lightly on my man.
No,
that's my dude.
Him and I are very cool. And I talk to him all the time. But it was like, we're seeing about running back stuff. And then towards the end of practice.
You got to understand, though, Finn was pretty good.
No, he's fine. He's good. But towards the end of practice, I was like, yeah, that guy's your guy. I don't know what you're doing. don't know why we're messing around. So he's been the guy. He's been the man. He's been in like a Class A, best running backs in Class A. He's the conversation right now. Like there's no other conversation at the moment. So, and he's put himself in that position. So that's certainly been great. The one thing this person does not get talked about,
which means he probably does, but go ahead.
Not at all. From outside perspective, Reed McIntyre.
Oh, he's yeah. Now that first thing he said, I agree with. Yeah, he's incredible.
He does. Nobody talks about him.
So we challenged him this week. It's funny. If you play an integral role in stopping their number 11, you got to be the number 11 you have been. Because if he doesn't play well, we can't win.
Right. And Quentin Warren obviously is a guy I'd love him. I keep bringing him up, but
we were talking about him off.
He does so much.
I mean, that's funny you bring him up. The battle of the 11s.
Mm-hmm.
He's just one of those guys, man. You can do everything right, and it's not like we know that going in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies with this guy. He's hanging there. Control your emotions. Make him snap it again. He's going to make some plays.
Yeah.
He just is.
Darian is such an intriguing prospect because he's just always around the ball.
He has some low-key great celebrations, too.
He has a gigantic chip on his shoulder, too, which I love.
Oh, yeah.
Like a massive. It's the biggest chip.
I love him, though.
Yeah. He's cool. And
Isn't
it's
it
like,
weird? He literally could single-handedly ruin my night.
I love him.
I don't care.
He's great.
I do.
Who loves him more, you or Micah?
Probably Breeze.
Yeah,
because he's liked him since. Listen, he was in lock with this dude like years ago because of the whole little brother thing.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you. Yeah.
Also, a guy for him, and we've talked about him before.
Dortch?
Connor O'Neill.
Yeah, he's done.
He's had a couple of huge games.
He's been a headache to figure out how we want to play him.
11 catches, 273 yards.
This is great radio for insight. We scrapped how we wanted to defend him on Tuesday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
Let's try. It's
like start over. It's only Tuesday. We got time. Who has to have a game plan?
So that
I mean, listen, if Nebraska can switch offensive coordinators in 10 days, you can switch a game plan in 5.
Also, how getting Keenan Cotton the ball is going to be important, I think, tonight. The first game, it was like, okay.
That's a true story about O'Neal, though. The dude will go get a ball, too.
It was Keenan. I remember that first game. I was like, why don't we just get him the ball? Throw him a swing pass or do whatever. Find a way to get your most explosive guy the ball. And, it's happened a little bit. Now, the return game, I would doubt they're going to try and kick to him at all. I mean, everyone has kind of tried to avoid him. Yeah.
Let me ask you something, because I could have the opportunity to actually do a broadcast of a family member that's not my own. What do you think happens with Central City and Sydney?
It's going to be awesome.
Because we have a couple guys that are from Overton, and so they're very familiar with what happens out in that part of the state. And this Sydney team is really good.
They're really good. Sydney kind of gets overlooked. Like when the brackets came out, I was like, oh, I could see anyone, people we talked to, I could see anyone but Sydney coming out of there. I'm like, no, they've been 1 or 2 all year. 1, 2, 3, I guess, all year in our coaches poll thing. And that's, I'm taking the feedback from coaches on that. And they're still putting them in there. They're putting them in there. They're putting them in there. And they're good. Alex Doty's really good. Really good.
Not like my Parker Zickman.
Parker's had a very good year.
I'm just serious.
The thing with Central City,
love him.
I do. He's had an awesome year. He's been great. The thing with Central City, though, is they have a run game now.
So that's what I liked last week watching them on that was a grimy game.
They won not a shootout game, right? They won by just grinding it out.
So speaking of which, does How many points wins with Scott and Seward?
Oh, a lot.
Like, but which
I feel
Seward though? Because that Seward won that was kind of
They came to come back last week. They were down. Seward was down 21-7.
Yeah, 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter, and came back and won. I think this one could be a lot of points.
Haas is pretty good.
Yeah, Tristan Haas is really good.
Van Dyke's really good.
Yeah.
Battle of the QBs?
Yeah.
Yes, it's 100% a quarterback game. This one is.
And they get nice weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
a nice field, like at Concordia, the field's nice, turf, all that.
It's a good November day for it.
It's amazing. Think about the last,
it's a lot of guys playing tonight that Nebraska's interested in.
Think about the last 10 years.
So this is a great.
The last 10 years, the weather on semifinal night has
not
been
been
real
good.
dicey.
I know.
So we're lucky.
Can Booth get enough touches to keep them in it?
That's Battle Creek will try and control the clock on their end too. So it'll be about a 17-14 game or something like that.
I wonder how many snaps each offense will get.
That's going to be well. The deal with Booth is, and they still haven't really changed. And we talked about this before. I mean, they just run between the tackles and they don't motion anyone. It's like kind of like the Jets right now. We're not going to try and trick We're just going to line up. We're just going to line up in the formation we are, and we're not going to change our eyes at all. And it's coming at you. And how do you handle it? And Dawson Amick is a really, really good lineman for Battle Creek. And they have a couple other big linemen. I think they can hang in there. That one's going to be, I think, pretty dang good. I'm going to Wahoo tonight. So
I wondered.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm going to go to Wahoo Auburn first half and then Battle Creek Newman second.
So is it going to be the tight splits kind of hold the ball for
Yeah,
Auburn?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Going to have to you're going to have to try and just grind it out.
I just had to check records real quick because you compared Bishop Newman to the Jets, and they are actually not 3-6. So it's that's.
Hey, you could get mad at him over break. You guys have some great back and forth.
Wow.
Coming up next,
I'm here for it.
We got more Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR Lincoln. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. And tonight, you can go out to either casino in Omaha or Lincoln if you're interested in watching that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. They will have it on for you, and you can place bets on it at Warhorse Sportsbook. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory.
So disappointing.
How much do you want to see Mike Tyson just
really, really badly.
bury that dude?
Really badly.
Same.
Yeah, pretty
I wish I could watch it.
Well, according to Theo in our StreamYard, it'll be about as many people that are cheering for North to beat us.
So everybody?
Yeah. My man said the whole city will be rooting for Omaha North today. I'm like, all right, Theo. They probably will.
Probably fair.
I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
Man,
More than my West Side gear.
coaches just find stuff to get pissed off about, don't they?
No.
They stay angry.
Because now you're going to use that.
No, I'm not. Listen, did you see my response?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I said I feel like that too, Theo. That's okay, though. It's an amazing program ran by an amazing man.
Okay.
I was going to say, you like Omaha North too much to get too mad about it.
No.
Wanted to get,
and it ain't personal.
No.
Wanted to get to some of our college games this week.
Hey, by the way, did you cash my Philadelphia Eagles?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, that's your own fault.
I understand that. You were almost really right. The garbage time touchdown by Washington got you a little bit.
Yeah.
How
about how Ertz, like,
garbage time? That catch was amazing.
It's still
fantasy.
It's still
I played him last night.
It's still garbage.
Won me some money.
Did you see his? He was like,
I mean, listen,
he was almost pissed. He scored. He's like, now you get me the ball.
I did well on Saquon's extra little tutty at the end too, so like I'm not mad about it. But
so did I.
Maybe you need to run my underdogs.
I'm the only one of the two of us that have had any success there.
Hey,
I'm telling you,
the other day I
play
did
daily fantasy. It's way more.
That's what underdog is.
It is daily fantasy. And I like it because it's competitive. Like, it's like, man, now I got to get inside the numbers.
Well, I want to get inside some numbers here with some of our college matchups this week. Haven't gotten a ton haven't got to talk a ton about the college slate today.
It's because it's muddy.
It is a little bit of a dog baby slate, but
a what?
A dog baby. Not a puppy, because puppies are adorable, but it's more like a baby that looks like a dog. Have you ever heard that?
Not a butt, a bunda, or a booty.
It's a booty. It's a bum.
What is it?
It's a bum.
What did the girls get to say?
I think they say booty.
Booty's undefeated.
You feel so validated.
I do.
I think booty is crass.
They created actually their own song where they like dance and like hit each other's backsides. My daughters.
So booty. Well, you got a potty mouth. So probably anything's acceptable in your household.
It's like booty butt. The song is like booty butt, boom, and then they like hit.
Oh, geez.
So Texas is a 12-point favorite at Arkansas, one of the most bipolar teams in the country.
I like that Arkansas coach.
Feeling
can't win.
Any kind of way about Arkansas this week?
No.
You think Texas is just on it now?
I'm assuming that's in Arkansas.
It is. That's at Arkansas. I'm just wondering because sometimes
you know what's funny?
Arkansas is weird. Arkansas is super weird.
Texas is capable of winning by 30.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%.
it's like
that's why it's a weird number, and I'm looking at it and I go, okay.
I've said this all along. I think Texas is pretty good.
No, but that's one of those numbers that you look at and you go, hey, that number seems low. Does that mean something on Arkansas?
Well, when Arkansas doesn't turn the ball over, they can play with anybody
really good.
in the conference.
They're really good. So I look at that and I go, okay, if I'm an odds maker, I probably look at Texas by almost 3 touchdowns. That number's at 12.
It seems light. I would gun to head or choice on which tush term to use. I would
feet
probably
to the fire.
I'd probably go Arkansas
with the minus 12.
Yeah,
or plus 12 on that one. Yeah. You feel any? You still riding my Billy Napier train at all?
That's incredible.
Minus 3.5. LSU coming to town. I don't really know what to do with LSU though either.
Take the Tigers is what you do.
Take the free money.
Yes.
All right.
I'll go ahead and disagree over there,
I said,
Jerome.
No, I'm agreeing.
I'm just asking. It seems like a weird line.
Oh, you're not a victim. Relax.
Seems like a weird line. Being so mean to me.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
South Carolina almost 2 touchdown favorites against Missouri. That one seems a little heavy.
No, that's going to happen.
You think so? You got South Carolina minus 13.5?
Yeah.
You're not worried about it being just below a key number there?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I feel like that's a lot of points.
Once you get into double digits, I'm not.
You feel
I'm
better?
Not as
Okay.
I'm not as.
You're very particular about the 2.5 and 6.5.
I told you we needed to either get a hold of Stu Manji or my guy RDK.
Mm-hmm.
He was at the event last night, Ryan.
Well, tell him to hit us up.
I was like, did I speak this into existence?
Tell him to hit us up.
No, that's a lot of work though. But he said he'd be inclined to agree. 6.5, 2.5 versus 7.5, 3.5.
Yeah. So you got South Carolina minus 13.5. You're taking all the points.
Yep, all of them.
Because you haven't been high on Missouri all year.
Nope, out on Missouri.
A little fraudulent.
Yeah, out on Missouri all year.
Here's an interesting one, I think. I feel like Arizona State's flown beneath the radar quite a bit this year. They're low-key 7-2. Nobody's paying attention.
Go ahead.
I would say they're going against 7-2 Kansas State. Kansas State's a 7.5-point favorite.
I looked at that. It makes no sense.
None at all.
None.
Take the Wildcats.
Yeah, no sense. That number
makes no
way
sense. Too big.
Yeah,
too big. Yeah, there's no way.
They're not believing in my fighting Kenny Dillingham's there at all.
Take K-State.
Not in Manhattan at night.
All right, Manhattan at night. You like the Wildcats minus 7.5. The best matchup of the day, probably 10. I mean, not probably. On paper, it certainly is.
Now remember, ATN isn't playing.
It's true.
7, 8, 9.
It's
not playing.
Still a pretty big number. Number 7, Tennessee at number 12, Georgia minus 9.5.
Yeah,
for the Dogs with no ETN.
Yeah, lay it.
You want Tennessee there?
Lay it.
That's a lot of points.
But you know how I feel about Tennessee. I've said all year. I don't think they're very good.
Yeah, I'm really confused about that.
They're going to have a hard time scoring, and Georgia is pissy. Kirby Smart has been a nightmare in the press this week. Georgia will play. Their problem is they play. They're very up and down. EKG.
Georgia. Yeah.
This is their week to be up. Watch what I tell you.
This is, I think, the one thing you've seen with the attrition of all the guys that have gone to the NFL is the consistency, right? Yeah. The last couple years, even the last 3 years, really, right? they've been able to show up every single day. When you start to lose some of that DNA is when that starts to become a problem. Last one here before we get to some Big Ten games. You all right?
I am. Abdul just sent me a text.
Kansas plus 2.5. Kansas plus 2.5 against my BYU Cougars at Provo. That's a number I don't trust at all.
That's your boys.
It is. I don't trust that number. You got me all spooked with 2.5.
2.5 is.
It's Kansas at BYU at night. You're talking about 9:15.
Hey, you ready?
9:15 in Provo. I was like, you're taking Kansas.
Jayhawk. Lock it up.
You know what I'm not going to do?
Lock it up.
You know what I'm not going to do? Bet against Kalani Sitake at night.
Listen,
I don't know
listen,
about
lock it up.
That is one of the hardest places to play.
It's the worst line on the board.
It is the
week.
worst line on the board.
Wait,
lock it up.
UCLA at Washington 4.5.
I know
is a bad
so,
line too.
Okay, somebody help me. Did that open at like 8?
I don't know, but that's a bad.
I don't know
line.
where it opened. I didn't see the open.
So I wouldn't call you crazy thinking that, Jerome, because it is bad.
No, but those teams are
Kansas is that's the worst line of the week.
Those teams are 4 and 5 and 5 and 5. Like they're in the neighborhood. You're talking about the number 6 team in the country versus 3 and 6 Kansas at home at night.
Yeah.
That is the stinkiest line. That might be one of the stinkiest lines we've had all year.
Yeah, man, rock chalk, baby.
Still taking Kalani Sitake.
You do you.
Listen, you know me. I am stubborn. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Let's go to that Washington. That one's tonight. UCLA at Washington -4.5 for the Dogs. UCLA's playing well though.
Somebody let me know in the stream. What did that open?
Hey, yeah, Ryan, if you're listening,
Hey,
I know you're a DJ and you probably know what that number is.
Kobe's rolling with Westside.
All right.
I got one.
Our guy,
all right then, Kobe.
RP, I'm sure you know what that line opened at because you have a problem. So
him or Aaron, those two are.
Hey, some of our DJs hit us up. Let us know what that line opened.
Okay, so it's
at.
4.5 right now.
4.5 now. UCLA at Washington. I feel like I want.
He's like, you need a vomit bag?
No, I
feel like I want UCLA there.
I know that's what I mean. I like how is that possible?
I think I want that money. I want that plus. Give me those points.
I don't know. I'd probably take Washington.
Contrarian to the grave.
No, I'm just thinking. You know I hate the public.
I know. In more ways than one.
Nah, I'm just playing.
Nebraska, USC down to 7.5.
Give me Nebraska.
I'm taking Nebraska too. Bowl eligibility, baby.
I don't even have to think about it. Give me all 7.5.
I don't care what the number is. Let's go. Nebraska getting that
Wait,
dub.
are you money lining that?
I will money line. Give me that plus money, baby.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's Bet on It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We are joined now by our friend Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Pison's Pizzeria. What's going on, Verse?
Oh, my.
How much, boys? What's up?
Maddie.
What?
Cold out there?
No.
Today?
Are you getting ready to take your mugshot picture? No, they'd actually make you take your hat off. You look awful surly today, man. That's what we're on today?
Good morning. Nice to see you as well.
Good morning, Matt. How are you today?
No. Hey,
I'm in the new bay, and we're getting utilities switched over, so it's a little brisk.
He says good morning to you too. Do you want to share with your fine friends over here what your text was to me this week?
Well, I felt unbelievably blessed. I had a string of 5 unanswered texts going to what I view as my good friend Damon Benning.
Imagine that.
But I got one response, and then I responded something quite witty back, and then I got another response. So then I went and bought multiple Powerball tickets, and or there's going to be a crew of locusts coming, and we're all going to die. So it's one of those two things.
Yeah. Hey, Richard Face, you good? Haven't heard from you in a while. This is my 5th text with no response.
And what'd you say? Okay. What'd you send back? Do you want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay. So my good friend Damon responded with, I got to find it.
What did I say?
Yeah, you giant C starward sucker. Fine. Are you good? Yeah, pardon me if I'm not that stoked to come on.
Well,
I forgot.
Yeah, this is for all you people out there that don't understand locker rooms. Like, we need more locker rooms. This
I totally forgot what I said.
Hey, I tried to call him. I
No,
tried
you
to call him
didn't.
the other day.
You don't lie. Don't lie to people. You know what you said.
I don't really. It was in a blur because I know I voice text, so I don't assume that comes across. But you said C.
So then you said the word.
Yeah, I said it.
Oh, that would be a cuss word then.
That's not a cuss word.
Yeah, you cussed.
Verz, I give him the hard time for it all the time because I'm like, okay, so you won't say like swear words, but you'll say that.
Yeah, that's a cuss word.
It'll be like fuck, and then he drops one of those on you.
C star word.
You'll say that word?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It might be his favorite. He said
That is a cuss word.
I heard so somebody said it like a year ago, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. It's like hearing somebody pass gas in public. I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
You won't even say fart, but you'll say that.
Anyway, Maddie,
Weird dynamic.
he's like giving me the stink eye.
You live under power lines when you were a kid. From a movie. Calm down. It's from a movie.
There may have been some lead paint in the house, Verz.
Man,
that angel of a mother. Oh, I can't wait to tell your mom you said that. I'm gonna message her.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be mad at you.
I'm gonna be pissed at you.
She's gonna be mad that you.
Are we gonna act like you're not riding with Verz right now?
Well,
Ravi?
I mean, he does
I
have.
would,
It's a lot more fun if you tried it with me. I'm just gonna tell you, it's a lot better time.
Do you feel like the offensive line can reap immediate dividends?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. Elaborate.
It's just going to be rhythmic. Like you've got a guy that's a play caller. Mm-hmm. And I think if anything, the expectation will be clear. It's like, hey, you're going to get these plays. If these plays aren't successful, then I got to go a different way. So here's your opportunity. I'm going to let you get lathered up and let you run all these plays. If they don't work, I got to go somewhere else. Okay. So here it is. I'm going to put it on your backs. I trust you. Go take this and go do this. And that, I think, is something that's been missing. And I don't think this is probably not going to sound the nicest, but I don't know how mentally tough that group is. So to have, you get a good stretch in UCLA, right? You run 6 in a row. I was so happy. 6 in a row. And it's going great. We're moving the ball. It's awesome. There's a rhythm to it. Like the play, you can see, hey, they ran this because of this. Now this came back and it made sense. Awesome. And then they lost a yard. And then we went back to just chucking it. And those guys are just
they got back to doing what, Verz? Say that again.
Chucking it. And those guys were just like, okay, well, you don't trust us, so we can't. I mean, if you had to go into a game saying, okay, boys, every play we run has to gain positive yards or they're never going to call it again. That's tough. You can't live that way. I know this is going to be blasphemous to people. In 1994, 1995, and 1997, we ran plays that didn't make yards. Like we lost yards on plays.
I don't believe you.
It's a baffling concept. I thought every one that we snapped went for touchdown, but I had to go back and watch some film. I was wrong.
Especially in 94, right? I mean, people forget that you didn't win by 100 every game.
But if you got a college player that knows that you don't have the full faith and trust in them, they're going to be fidgety. It's just not going to go well. So you got to give them everything you can and go.
Okay. So with
the other experience I had, it was one of my high school stops with a play caller.
Wow. Who was that? Who was that, Verz?
You guys are cutting out. Can't hear you.
I got to go.
Hi, Mikey.
Hey, so
who's next?
I almost said that right there.
So,
yes.
Do you like these guys to be? There's obviously a difference between tempo and rhythm, right? Do you want them to play faster too?
I wouldn't mind faster because I think it eliminates thinking. I think they have analysis paralysis at times, and I think that's the thing the whole team suffers from. You can get it where you're going and in 10 days to install some different, I'm sure it's similar concepts. It's probably just going to be a little bit different play calls and situations. So I think the install won't be as difficult as people think because he's a smart guy. He'll tailor it to what they have in already. And he'll be the one that has to figure out what the plays are called. but to get it to where it's just on the ball and go, on the ball and go, on the ball and go, I think will be helpful to them. And it gets them worked up and it kind of gets them into the game. And I don't know. I just think it will be helpful for them.
Verge, we've heard a lot kind of the last couple of weeks about simplifying things and taking it from trying to do 20 different things to getting down to 4 or 5 things that they do really, really well. It seems like from what you're saying, like you think that can have effects, not just on the offensive line, but we talk about passing with a guy like Dana Holgorsen all the time. With the running game, how much more effective do you think that can be when things are just a little bit simpler for those guys?
So the thing that people that struggle to win football games struggle with is they want to make it this big complex game. They want to throw a bunch of jargon at it, and you got to call every mother frickin' block something, and you got to call every combination route something else, and it's too much. Like Mike Leach, who's kind of the inventor of this, went out to call games with a 3x5 note card. Very smart man, but he had a 3x5 note card. That's you can't fit a lot of plays on a 3x5 note card, or unless you're a savant the other way, which I was fortunate enough to work with one of those. Ryan Terwilliger's brother, Troy, stupid, crazy football mind. Like honestly, probably one of the bigger. He's doing great in life. It's just not a shot at him, but should be a college play caller or probably now a professional play caller. But had that kind of brain, your McVays sit in that realm, but you don't find those guys don't walk around and they have a bunch of jargon and a bunch of call, but then it's very simple for their guys to run. That's huge in that. There's somebody less than a yard away that wants to do bodily harm to you. The last thing you want to be doing is sitting there thinking. You just want to be able to go. Like, I don't have time to think about this. How can we simplify this? Literally down to the basics. I don't care if it's duo. I don't care whatever. It's zone.
Hey, you don't care if it's what, Matty? Is that how I say it? You
do say it like that. God, maybe that's why I hate it. You do this with your hands. Okay, if I do this. Duo.
You think you would like duo if you liked how DB said it more?
Nah. Hey, you guys ready to roll tonight or what?
Yeah, we're ready.
Oh,
you're definitely.
You're like if somebody flew a drone over your practice, would you be like Bill Snyder? Would you like shoot it down?
No, it's cool. I mean, we're going to do. I think both teams are going to kind of do what they do. We had to scrap a couple things earlier in the week, probably overthinking.
See, simple game. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just duo it up.
Hey, how? What's that?
You got to duo the S out of it tonight, Mikey.
Yeah. That's like you totally made up the dialect. I get you don't like. Listen, I don't like the way they run it, so I'd stop calling it too. So we finally come to an agreement there.
Just call it zone and say, "Hey, running back, learn how to read this." I played in college. I was really good at reading it. You have 3 steps to decide. I just eliminated 2 blocking schemes for you. You're welcome.
Wow.
That is our guy, Matt Vrzal. Verz, we appreciate it.
I don't.
I thought we had a great time today.
You should respond to text. You should respond to text.
I think the beanie looks great. We'll talk to you later. Hey, stick around for just a few minutes. If you're on the live stream, we got a little bonus content for you here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. For the rest of you, have a good weekend.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio AM. Well, not AM 590. No, we're just on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube for a little digital only, little extra here this morning. Want to talk a little Union Omaha with our friend, the general manager of Union Omaha, Alexis Boulos. Alexis, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm great. It's awfully lonely when I don't see Damon in the chair next to you.
I know he's a busy man. He's got a game tonight. He's got to call Nebraska tomorrow. So it's just me today. I apologize.
Oh, no apology necessary.
You guys have a busy weekend as well, coming off of the big win in the semifinals. I mean, just how excited are you guys to be hosting a championship match on Sunday?
It's amazing. I mean, for my first year here with the team, this has been a spectacular way to wrap everything up. The team is just excited as can be. They're motivated, focused. I hear every morning all of their laughter and excitement in the locker room when I'm sitting at my desk. So it's exciting for everybody. We all just can't wait until Sunday.
So, I mean, you mentioned it is your first year as GM. You going to take a little credit for how well this season's gone, or are you going to shove that off on somebody else?
You know what? I can only take credit for helping focus the attention on what needs to be focused on in the locker room, make sure that they have everything that they need and give these guys everything they need to be successful. So that's really the only, and the rest of the squad, it's been amazing. And so I don't get to take credit for anything on the field.
Well, you mentioned kind of the things you hear from the locker room earlier there. Is that, I mean, I know you've been around sports for pretty much your entire life. Is that something that maybe we don't talk about enough in terms of teams that are highly successful? Like this sounds like from everything we've seen and, you know, the way they've kind of rallied around Meach and everything after all that happened, this seems like a pretty close-knit group.
It's extremely close-knit. And I would absolutely agree with you when you say knowing what goes on in the locker room, but also knowing what goes on in their lives. They are together all the time. You know, they live together, they eat together. You know, Gary Green and Marty Cordero and the rest of the ownership have done an amazing job of building up this family environment from day one and towards a family environment. You know, they're in the locker room and they practice together and they play together on the field, but they also spend time together in their day-to-day lives, you know, whether it's volunteering or coaching. They do have an incredible bond. Even the guys who have been new on the roster this year. I mean, Wallace is an amazing human and gets out and volunteers in the community and takes guys with him. Like, it's just great to see. And I think that's pretty special. You know, I have never been a part of a team sport before, so this is new for me. But to see the camaraderie and the way they support each other and rally around each other, like you mentioned with Mishak, you know, they're winning this for him. They're very focused, and they want to win this for him. And so it's great to watch and be a part of the family. You know, they joke around with me and stop by my office, and I'm just down the hall from the locker room. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch.
You know, you kind of mentioned them living together, spending so much time together. We talked to Gary Green earlier in the week, and he brought that up, and that was the first time I had realized that they actually had that kind of living arrangement. Do you know, like, was that on purpose where you're like, hey, we think we might have like maybe kind of a little hack here to get this to be a really tight team and keep everybody close? Or was it just like, hey, this is the practicality of it for logistics. This is going to be the easiest thing to do. And it sort of just was a happy accident.
I think it was a combination of the two, right? I think when Gary started to figure out how this team was going to come together, finding a partnership and creating a partnership with Green Slate and figuring out how to get all these guys in a neighborhood like Blackstone where they can still be young and fun and be in the community and in a neighborhood where a lot of our fans are. So I think it was a combination of it's very helpful for us to know where people are at, and if somebody isn't showing, you know, it's one of those things. It's kind of like having college roommates.
I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me of a college atmosphere a little bit more, because professionals usually, you know, you get to the stadium, you go your separate ways, you know, you get to practice and you go do your own things. It sounds a lot more like a college team in terms of the way it's sort of built together and the logistics of it all.
It is, and it isn't. And I say that because, you know, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, maybe we've talked about it, but we have young men age range from 17 to 35. Yeah. So I think this living arrangement also helps them create a bond that is a leader in a leadership way and help these young men grow, and not only on the field, but off. So yes, I think they have that like joking camaraderie, brother relationship, but then there's also this mentorship that happens that is really great to see too, with these younger players that we have that have an opportunity to play on the field and train day in and day out with someone like Steven Dos Santos, and get pushed around and learn what it's like to be in a professional athletic situation, but then also see them off the pitch and understand what it is to be a great adult and be a great member of a community. And those are things that are fun to see because they do spend a lot of time together.
So as we've got this championship match coming up Sunday, 2 p.m., how can people get tickets? How can people get involved? Like, how do we get this thing done for Union Omaha?
Tickets at unionomaha.com. They can call our ticket office. There are still seats available, but they're going quickly. I'll tell you, we're really excited about the presale number. So it's going to be amazing. We can't wait to have all of our fans out there. Omaha metro area loves sports. So we look forward to seeing you out there.
Alexis, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend, and can't wait to see Union Omaha bring home a championship for this community. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
That is your extra digital bonus content for today. DB and I will be back with you on Monday for Hurrdat Sports Radio.